want to know what the weak point of a mech is? The fucking pilot.
Get away from her, you bitch!
His papers say he was a raven.
Protocol 3.
A pattern blue!
Welcome to On the Shoulders of Giants, a giant robot power hour discussing mechs across media, their stories, and why we love them. I'm Brian, and I'm joined by Alice.
Okay. That's a 2d6 plus 3 for shoot green laser.
Niko.
Hold on, guys. I've almost finished printing and cutting this entire rulebook into pieces to assemble one meme.
And for the first time ever, show scribe and friend of all of us, Ghost.
Thank you for letting me out of the monastery basement. It's so dark down there.
Yeah, I don't know how you scribe down there. Like, we keep leaving you candles, but I just assumed you liked it.
You just throw in some dry pasta every once in a while. I'm okay.
Dry pasta. They have one small candle, but it's really wet down there. So they kind of have to like
full of candles, but you've got to get the old Indian guy to turn them on and off.
Oh no, Code Talker's down there.
Oh my god.
We shoved Ghost in the basement with Code Talker.
The fucking specter of Hideo Kojima will never leave me. I hate
the
this.
funny thing is, Code Talker gets freshly made hamburgers down there, but Ghost is only allowed to eat the dry pasta.
Well,
You're
it's a delight
welcome.
to have you.
Well, thank you very much.
Today, we gather to discuss a beautiful tabletop role-playing game set in a sprawling, far future utopia where nothing is scarce and fulfillment is abundant, in which you play as the Omelas Kid. It's Lancer. Let's launch into it.
What do you guys think happened?
One of the players Robbie played with got carried away and killed him.
That's kind of far out.
Mazes and Monsters is a far-out game. Swords, poison, spells, battles, maiming, killing.
Hey, it's all imagination.
Is it?
You do be playing as the Omelas Kid.
You do be playing as the Omelas Kid.
What's an
All the universe
Omelas
is
Kid?
suffering. From Ursula K. Le Guin's Those Who Walk Away from Omelas. It's the one kid who, as long as you torment them, the city is wonderful.
I didn't realize that we were talking about official lore from the Carrick and Trade Dynasties booklet already, but it seems like we've really cut ahead.
What?
I
None of
think
those
that
were
Ghost might
words.
be the Carrick and Trade correspondent. I feel like they've had so much to say about the Carrick and Trade baronies.
Yeah, I mean,
What's the conversion rate?
it's a post-scarcity civilization, except when it's not.
Yeah.
Wait a minute.
It's funny. There's so many parallels to Star Trek here that I think that I'm going to certainly bring up, because I think there's a lot of patterns in utopic fiction where like you run into several obstacles that you must solve very creatively, I think.
Me playing Lancer, but I'm just in the Imaginatorium from Community.
Just alone.
Just alone.
Yeah, but do you want to talk a little bit about yourself and why do you deserve to be here? What are your credentials?
Okay. Well, my credentials is Hello, I'm Ghost. I guess I'm maybe like the scribe for the podcast. I live in a monastically themed basement in the United Kingdom for my sins. I am a Hideo Kojima apologist. I am a producer on video games. I am a published game designer. I mostly work in sort of mega game spaces. I finished creating a professional wrestling themed mega game called Tales from the Territories, which is going to be up on itch.io soon. And I'm working on a mega game that is similar yet legally distinct to being about Gundam. And I've had lots of help from Alice on that one so far.
I was very clued into the creative progress on that wrestling themed one, and it is fucking sick. People should play that game when it comes out.
I cannot wait
amazing.
for the next one from what I'm seeing. Ghost, why did we lock you in a basement to scribe for this podcast?
Because Kyle wouldn't do it. I think seems to be
husband of the pod, Kyle, really dropped the ball there.
Well, I started writing down every official stance kind of as a joke, because I realized it was a phrase that comes up a lot. And when I hear a phrase that comes up a lot, I tend to kind of gravitate towards it as like a, why is this coming up? Is there any sort of good content that can be mined from that?
In the business, we call what Ghost just said foreshadowing.
In the business, we call what Ghost just said being neurospicy.
No, that's fair. That's fair.
Ghost also, to my knowledge, ran a game of Lancer for Alice and Brian, but not for me, because they hate me.
You were the
That's
hater.
Specifically why.
First of all.
I am here to take the slings and arrows.
Niko had to go enrich their professional life like a fucking
I'm
pathetic
trying
idiot.
to manifest union.
I am enriching my career path of future mech pilot, so...
Yeah.
Yeah, that's very fair.
But
Ghost.
yeah, let's...
Wait, can I ask Ghost a very important question on
Yes,
pod?
absolutely.
Hi, Ghost. What's a mecha mean to you?
It's a great question.
So I don't have like a huge amount of experience with outside of the Western canon of mech entertainment. Like I know my way around Transformers, I know Titanfall, I know Lancer. I have not got like a huge amount of experience with Japanese style mech entertainment. So for me, mech-tertainment. It's mostly like, is there a pilot in it? Is that pilot going to do a thing usually by themselves? Is the mech very big? Like it is a size thing. It is an angular thing. How
do you feel about meat mechs?
I heard that a lot in college.
Oh my god.
With meat mechs, I'm not really a fan. I think I'm going to be controversial and say that the Fallout power armor isn't a mech.
Wow. And it was great having Ghost on, but you can go ahead and leave the call.
No, we allow dissenting opinions to the collective hive mind of the OSG mecha.
Hey, OSG is a marketplace of ideas, okay? And
OSG is a land of contrasts.
AliExpress drop shippers just sitting there desperately trying to offload Funko Pops that are now definitely out of date, much like my opinion.
Jesus Christ. Ghost, you mentioned that you don't really follow Japanese-style mecha. I'm leaning specifically into one thing, which is, Ghost, what do you know about Gundam?
Basically nothing. The game that I'm writing is being driven entirely by vibes. There's 3 layers to it. One is a sort of Earth and space government layer, a battleship layer, and then a layer where everyone's anime protagonists that are trying to self-actualize into regular, human beings.
I always salute with the wrong hand, but one great fact that I know about Ghosts is that they have a robust and rich Gunpla collection, and they do not know the context or name of any of the Gundams involved.
That's not true.
That.
I have a Strike Freedom. I know that one because it has like.
Alice is so in pain right now.
I'm so mad. Ghost posted Ariel and was like, "This is from the Yuri one, right?"
Well, they were right.
They were.
Yeah.
So
I am so happy to be Ghost Senpai in the knowledge of Gundam.
yeah, Niko finally knows more about Gundam than another person.
What are the Gundams you know, Niko? Real quick.
Camphor, Hindry, and the fucked up Zaku. And I'm not just looking at the Gunpla on the shelf above my computer.
I was gonna ask what media you've seen Seedless G Savior, but
yeah, well, that's fair. I've seen War in the Pocket, G Savior, Jivo, Gundam Wing.
Gundam Wing
like
Endless Waltz, to be clear.
Yeah.
Specifically Endless Waltz and not Gundam Wing.
So this next thing that I'm about to say has nothing to do with Lancer, but my aesthetic is trash. That's why I love like professional wrestling so much. But like, you've got to realize I was the person that said to Alice, "Hey, you should come and play this Gundam Evolution thing. It's got great gacha boxes." And
Which is
I also
exactly what you say to get Alice.
Yeah,
This is
true.
I
This
know
is the
that.
lore. I did not get into Jivo until Ghost kept sending me little screenshots and like, look at this. Literally, the one that is Ghost was like, look at the gotcha animation from this.
I can't believe the dominoes of like our podcast are like Ghost tempts Alice to wail, small domino, and then big domino is Jivo coins are the only currency we use on the podcast.
I completed the Gundam Evolution season pass. There you go. That's a. You gotta get your money out of it.
Oh, Jesus.
Okay.
Let's talk about something that's good.
Let's talk about something that's good.
Did we get the Ghost? What's your favorite mech?
I'm gonna say a Wildcat from Battletech.
Battletech on the pod, finally. We'll be
Yeah, I
talking
feel
about
like
that today.
Battletech is like the fucking elephant in the room. Like, we don't know jack shit about I just Googled Battletech, not the name of the...
I'll have you know, I played a lot of the Battletech video game, and my good friend PMC likes to info dump about his journey through the Battletech novels in the Giant Robot FM Discord, by the way. People should go to that Discord. It's a great Mecha Discord.
In there. I'm always wondering about those novels, because, you know, I love to bring books to the podcast to keep Alice's brain from completely smoothing. So
absolute top tier. You know what we should do for a lightning round is look at some of those fucking novels original cover art. Top tier. Top tier.
Either that or my good friend BT from Titanfall 2.
Speaking of mechs, we're here to talk about Lancer, which is kind of another elephant in the room, because again, I just feel like in the mecha space, it's like such a thing. Like, even if you've never played a tabletop in your life, you've seen someone post a drawing of their Lancer build. I absolutely guarantee you.
Or you've seen one of their beautiful memes, as I alluded to, which is just like the most beautiful drawing of a mech you've ever seen in your life, and then like a serial killer note over it.
Mm-hmm. So to get into some production facts, Ghost, I'm sure you're very familiar with this too. So if you have any additions or corrections, just jump in. But Lancer was published in 2019 by Massive Press. They were Kickstarter bred. They had an original $100,000 goal. They reached $400,000. That doesn't seem like that much in today's context, but this was in 2019. Like, I feel like Kickstarter was kind of in the not as like that guy had just made $100,000 off of potato salad or whatever in 2019. Do you guys remember that?
Yeah, yes. This was the era of everyone being like, Kickstarters are ridiculous. I do not think it was helped by like the $2 million Homestuck Kickstarters. So like,
I will say that for a print RPG, pretty great.
Yeah, pretty exceptional.
I backed a lot of $50,000 print RPGs.
So, I mean, and Lancer Lancer and Massive Press are both two people, Tom Bloom and Miguel Lopez. Like, you would not know it. Like, the production value on this is absolutely insane, I feel like.
Yeah, they have a bunch of support. There's a bunch of people who did layout and additional art and stuff. But like, I think probably you're going to mention it, but one of the big draws to this Kickstarter was Tom Bloom, who's the artist the writer and the artist for the webcomic Kill 6 Billion Demons. So that's extremely popular. So.
Shout outs to Kill 6 Billion Demons. If I were webcomic minded, I probably would have read it. But like I have
no excuse. Like, I have the pages open for Tigers and like some of my other webcomics that I love. So I need to just read this.
Ghost, have you read Kill 6 Billion Demons?
Yeah, big fan of it. I think
nice. Okay.
It has like a lot of the sort of Lancer visual style in it. I think the original Congo Lancer book, which is I think the book that I'm going to be talking about the most, had 20 plus artists working on it in total. It's really an interesting kind of view of their artistry and how they've managed to convert a lot of that from a webcomic into an RPG, and how the two things kind of inform each other, only they're not really linked, but there's like a lot of thematic, hey, things are just going to escalate over time no matter what you do across both of them.
I know Kill 6 Billion Demons by its anime adaptation Doom.
Doom is an anime. This is known.
I just feel like...
Does that make Doom Guy a magical girl?
Eastern webcomics get adapted into anime, and Western webcomics just continue to be webcomics, and we need to normalize giving them a one season of anime.
You're so right. I'm excited to announce that we are animating Homestuck, the anime.
I don't know, like with the way things are going with that guy who directed Castlevania and is now doing a Devil May Cry one, we may get there one day.
None of you remember the 6-episode web miniseries that was the Control-Alt-Delete web anime. There you go.
Oh,
there's a
my
really
God.
good reaction
Yes,
from all of
yes,
you.
I do.
Reactions. This is why we shouldn't do it. We tried it once and it sucked.
Oh my God! Control-Alt-Delete. We're the new Control-Alt-Delete.
Zoomers, read all of Control-Alt-Delete.
Yeah.
Read exactly one comic. I'll tell you which one.
There's 4 of us. I'm sure we could pose in the correct way.
Tips on being the receptionist.
I just think like thematically something that's interesting about Lancer's conception is that Bloom and Lopez have both kind of said that they very intentionally made the setting like a lot more optimistic, like as broad strokes go. Of course, obviously in a mecha tabletop, you have to have conflict and violence and trauma and everything. But the overarching world is a lot more, I guess, I would say stable than a lot of other settings, which is interesting. And then, yeah, the interesting kind of 2020 or actually last year 2024 drop of the Dark Horse Comics collaboration reprint was very interesting. I don't really know what the difference is between these two versions of Lancer. Do you know anything about that, Ghost?
So Lancer is really interesting in that it has a version of it that's available completely for free. Like you can just go on and play that, but they also have like the hardback version. The physical version, I think, has like less errata in it. One of the things about Lancer that's really fascinating is they've built a game with the internet in mind. You kind of want to play a lot of it using like their online toolkit, which is called CompCom, which I think we'll come back to. But they also have like a GitHub system, which is like a software versioning. Yeah, it's a software versioning system that allows you to like track and like report changes and do change lists and like really high end sort of programmatic or technical stuff. But they use that to track errors in the PDFs and get those updated. It's a very modern approach to doing things in an industry that I think can be quite slow to adapt.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, considering like last night we played a game where like half the time we open the PDF and we have to find an obscure rule buried in flavor text, like that is kind of refreshing.
I play a lot of World of Darkness games. I've no idea what it's like finding rules in flavor text. Couldn't be me.
I had to deal with this monstrosity. I don't have a PDF of that game.
Brian's physically flipping through a binder. I love that.
Hey, what's earlier you said it doesn't have a lot of errata? Did I get that word right?
Yes, yeah. ERRATA, errata.
It's not erotic, Alice. It's not.
Oh,
it's not erotic.
But for like, I know what that word means, but but for those who don't, what does that word mean?
When a book goes to print, sometimes there's mistakes in it, and those mistakes then get updated. And the stuff that is the updates for that's called the errata.
And also penis.
Yeah,
and
that
also
too, right?
penis. Yeah, I guess.
Yeah,
okay.
I'm glad that we are relying on Ghost for like scholarly knowledge. This feels appropriate. Like I can smell the monastery.
Oh, I'm sorry. I
smell the parchment farts.
We actually make Ghost only use gaseous paper.
What the fuck? What the fuck does that mean?
All right, can we talk about the modules?
Yeah, I mean, this is another thing where it's just like all I know are kind of vague gestures, but there are 7 whole narrative module books. This is very similar to like the things you can get from D&D Beyond, for example, that are just like, here is some campaign information. This is a part of the setting that you can do XYZ missions in. And there's also like Lancer has an extremely permissive well, all tabletops technically have, but I just think that the size of Lancer's community means that there are also a fuckload of like other random things. Like there's a whole subreddit just chock full of other people's ideas too.
If I could give a specific shout out, I would say that the crew on pilot.net, the Lancer Discord, do a phenomenal job. It's also a really welcoming community. Their click to get access emote thing is a trans pride flag, which cuts out a lot of absolute shitheads. I think that they have created a wealth of content that is just constantly getting updated. It can be a little bit intimidating when you first go in there and you see like there's a thing for each one of Massive's games, and there's channels upon channels. But if you stick around and if you can climb that vertical wall of content, you'll find some absolutely fantastic people that are making a really good game even better.
Shoutouts.
Yeah.
You don't have to read everything on player.net to jump in. That's, as a poster, I just started posting.
Posters be posting.
Alice has the poster soul, so she just went right in there.
APB, always post busily.
I do want to mention, so we talked a little bit about Tom Bloom's background. So Miguel Lopez writes for Wizards of the Coast for Magic the Gathering and some of the work that they do, which is cool, but also not great because there was some recent non-compete clause stuff that was put in, and so his ability to contribute to the project has been limited by that.
It's very strange, right? Because like on the one hand, I feel like I can safely say this is a fuck WOTC podcast, but also the specific circumstances here were actually like a federal move last summer that kind of changed some of the language around non-compete clauses, which I think actually benefited a lot of people, but also put Miguel in this like strange situation where, he's not super allowed to substantially work on Lancer for the time being.
Is Spelljammer as robust as Lancer?
I would probably say no.
I think it's like a card game, isn't it?
I want to just get like two things out on this.
Oh, okay.
RPG thing. There's a really good quote in an interview with Quinn's Quest. I think it might be Quinn's Quest or SideQuest.zone, where one of the writers of Lancers says, "It is my assumption that the resurgence of tabletop role-playing is twofold. First, prioritizing the physical proximity of friends and acquaintances is a response to capitalism's insistences on digitizing, atomizing, and doing away with community. By engaging in small group, persistent play, you can hopefully resist the alienating forces of late-stage capitalism. With Lancer, we want to continue to develop an aesthetic of integration and equality in a post-national and nearly post-capital, post-collapse environment. Most mass-market media imagines cruel futures of collapse, failure, or myriad dystopia. It is our hope that Lancer can depict something a little different." Which I think that's a hell of a mission statement. And I would also say that from my perspective as a long-term tabletop RPG nerd, I am a sicko, and I think that Dungeons & Dragons 4th edition was the best version of D&D. And one of the things about it is it had what's called a closed gaming license. 3.5 and 5th edition D&D had what's called open gaming licenses, so anyone can come in and just like write stuff for them. Wizards of the Coast are desperately trying to get rid of the open gaming license, and people seem to be very upset about it. But Lancer takes a lot of cues from 4th edition, the way that it plays, and it feels like a game that has fallen into our universe from another universe where 4th edition popped off the way that 3.5 and 5th edition have. It's a view into a different way of doing things, and I think it's really interesting because of that in a tabletop space.
Which, hey, if you're still upset about that OGL, I just want everybody to remember that you could always play a different game.
Yeah, we're going to be those people. I don't think... every once in a while, I think we play, like, a 5e game, but, like, yeah. I do love the people who are, like... they're, like, white Maoists or whatever, where they're, like, so terminally on... I cracked Brian up. But, like, there are people who are, like, Lancer RPG will supersede D&D 5e within my lifetime. And I'm like, I don't think so, but it is a beautiful dream that you have.
It's a beautiful dream, and I also just don't think that it's really what the space should be. Like, I don't know. The goal of overtaking Wizards of the Coast is scary to me, because that just puts another, like, bunch of weirdos
Plus the Lancer core book is 560 pages long. That is not an accessible, like, book. That's one of, like, I would say the core kind of issue that I have with the game is that it can be a little bit of like a vertical climb to get into it.
It is quite intimidating, and I'll talk about this a little bit more later, but like the ways in which it is complicated are I think different than the ways in which a lot of other crunchy tabletops can get complicated. And yeah, that 500 page. I mean, to be fair, there's like a basically world building encyclopedia stapled onto it, but it is a humongous book. It's very intimidating.
But that's where I feel like Ghost, you touched on the digital tools. Like D&D is late to this with D&D Beyond, and I feel like a lot of the D&D Beyond stuff tends to be gated by, did you buy this book? Did you buy that book? But like CompCon, which we'll talk about more, but like the fact that there are digital tools just like online, ready to go, they didn't have to be built by the community. Like tabletop communities are fantastic because they tend to be like a book will drop, and then if someone gets into it, they're like, I've built a fully programmed spreadsheet that you can use to build your character, and it's like crazy and it's free, you can just copy it from my Google Drive or whatever. Like, but like to have that support, I feel like that is so crucial, especially with a game that can be this intimidating. I'm so glad that totally is there. I really
shout outs to CompCon.
I will also say, as somebody who does go out and touch grass, Lancer fans go touch grass a little bit more. If you go to any of your local game stores, unfortunately, there is always going to be a market for D&D because it's easy. I know so many white women my age who are like, I want to do TTRPG. And what they mean is they want to play D&D. And when people say, I'm going to go play D&D, I use that as a cadence. I'm not always playing D&D, but it's easier than saying, I'm playing a tabletop role-playing game. It's like the Kleenex, right? It's like not every tissue is a D&D, but, if I say
not
D&D,
every tissue, but you blow your nose into every one of the 5e rulebooks. No, I'm kidding.
But I will say I do.
Why is the page about tieflings stuck together?
What? Hey. Hey now.
I mean, if we're talking about things that you use tissue paper for.
Oh my god. All right. How did we all learn about Lancer? Because Brian, you mentioned you're like, am I brain poisoned? Is it just everywhere in the mecha space? And I will say you might be brain poisoned. I'll just open by saying legitimately my first encounter with Lancer was one of the memes. I encountered a meme that just looked fucking bizarre. It had like great sci-fi art under it, and then it was just like this cut up fantastic meme. Like if you just Google Lancer memes, you will be introduced to a world of beautiful, stupid memes. Like I love it. And I was like, damn, this is so funny. What is this from? Like I was reblogging a bunch of Lancer memes to the OSG like official Tumblr before I really like looked into Lancer. And then I found out, oh, there's like a whole thing behind this weird subculture.
Alice, how did you come to know Lancer?
So the weird thing about this is like I knew about Lancer because it exists in the TTRPG space, but I engage with TTRPGs in this weird way of unless I'm going to play it, I don't read it. I don't really care because if I do read a TTRPG and I don't get to play it, it makes me a sad panda. So I know Lancer exists.
Super
I have
fair.
Never played Lancer until we did it for this podcast. And so that is my exposure to it. I know what it is generally. Like I've looked through CompCon and stuff and I'm like, oh, I love Battletech. I love Star Trek, but that's it. I really I know it's in the space and I know it's giant in the same way that I know Magic the Gathering is huge. I have no idea what any of that shit is.
For sure. Ghost, I'm sure you have a storied history with Lancer, I feel like.
It's less storied and more, that's a cool looking Kickstarter. Wow, this art's fantastic. I'm going to back this for a physical edition. And then the physical edition showed up. And I was like, that's pretty cool. I played it for a while. I ran it for a while. And yeah, it was purely, I just think it's neat. Find the Kickstarter and you just kind of go from there. That's way less fun than that meme's fantastic.
And you've played it a bunch.
I've played it a fair amount. I'm a big fan of the way it plays. I like how simple it can be and how you can make it as complex as you want to make it. I really like the progression system in it, and it's just a fun game. If you have the right people that just want to have what feels like it could be an endless campaign of mechs doing cool things in cool places. In the past, one of the things I've done is I've built maps for it in Unreal using prefabs, and you can just kind of build really cool space stations and cities very easily, and over the course of multiple sessions you can just rip chunks out of it by deleting parts of it. So the players
that is very
see...
easily as from the perspective of someone who works in game design, just so that everybody knows the perspective that's coming from.
XKCD comic insert here.
Yeah.
Surely everyone knows about how you can use Unity to...
Guys, Unreal 5 is so easy to use prefabs. What are you talking about?
Oh, I love you, Ghost. All right. But, okay,
well,
we keep talking about... we keep talking about the Union. We keep talking about shit. Brian, what is our premise with Lancer?
Yeah, so normally we would give a summary of the media if it had a tight storyline. This is more of a like conceptual world building background. And so yeah, this is the synopsis. It is the far-flung future, and Earth is the cradle. Yes, that is the word they used. Shoutouts to Heaven Will Be Mine.
We are thankful for our cradle's graces.
Yeah, of a post-scarcity society called Union that appears to be largely doing the utopia thing, largely thought impossible by modern political philosophers. However, Union is a wee baby, and at its fringes, hangers-on from harder times continually struggle against the peacetime efforts of our beautiful society. It is our job as Lancers to get into Mechs and, deal with that. And that is essentially the premise. This is like the flavor text you're going to get at the beginning of like basically any like context thing with Lancer, because that is the backdrop of like any kind of campaign that you're doing is like Union's kind of over there and you're dealing with this like guy that doesn't like peace because he was making money off of war or whatever. Like that is essentially
the war economy.
The war economy.
Oh.
So yeah, we'll go to a break and then we're going to come back and we're going to talk a little bit more about like role-playing games.
Oh, Colonel.
Hey, Niko here in the break. Just wanted to let you know that while this is a podcast and we'll always do our best to describe visuals we're commenting on, we'll also include links to the mechs and images we discuss in the show notes and post actual photos on our show website. Along with that, make sure to check the show notes for content warnings as appropriate to the episode. That's all for now. Back to the show.
Okay, welcome back from the break. Yeah, I've basically broken this into what I can't remember if I did it 3 or 4 parts.
3
parts, basically just talking about part 1, the setting itself, like the kind of a little bit of more details on like the world building and things like that. And then part 2 would be the mechs and the mechanics of the game. And then part 3 is basically just talking about the session that Ghost DM'd for Alice and I, which was very fun. By the way, in case we haven't made it clear, this game is extremely fun. You should probably play it if you can get a group together, which is the #1 challenge of any tabletop ever.
Slide into my DMs.
Yeah.
But yeah, so let's talk about this like Union bullshit, the like kind of breadth of it. Do we have any thoughts at the top on like terminology or anything like that?
I love in sci-fi, we gotta make new words. We gotta.
Yes.
You just can't be using you can't just call it hyperspace anymore. Nah. It's blink space, baby.
We have verbs and nouns like you wouldn't believe. I have 3,000 hours in Destiny, and I look at Lancer and say, come on, you gotta pull it back on the amount of nouns and verbs and inscrutable orbs.
No, we need more orbs.
Anytime I open a Destiny Wikipedia link and I'm just like, none of these are real. Why are these hyperlinks?
My favorite mech in this game, Prime, features an inscrutable orb. There
Brian,
are many.
I think we have the
orbs.
same one.
Yes, let's go.
Oh, I love to not be able to scrut an orb.
Let's get to castigating some godheads.
Yeah, so like I said earlier, there is like it's very, if you're familiar with like the Starfleet Federation in Star Trek, it is very that. It is like very like weirdly kind of naive post-scarcity society that is just like very well off. and also like Starfleet, some of like the sentences that you can say about its structure are scary on their own, such as Union itself controls the three things that basically control all of life in the entire system, which is the economy, the internet, and taxis.
Well, no, so I think this is interesting. So Brian, like throughout you've been like, okay, I don't know about this utopia. Like, I don't know that this is, it's interesting to me, and I could pull Ghost in on this because, like, I just read a book that Ghost is going to be running a game based off of, I believe, and the book is called The Ministry for the Future, and it's all about, it's like a near future speculative fiction about how we pull up from the nosedive of climate change, and a lot of it is like, despite all of the factors that are trying to resist saving humanity, how do we centralize and how do we create a system where it is not profitable nor is it sustainable to oppose fixing what's wrong with society? And I think that's an interesting challenge to approach, and I think it can be seen as naive, but I also think it can be seen as like deeply like, you have to have your hands really bloody to try to make something like, you know, to try to fix the problems that are there.
Well, and Union, or like I think the society at large technically can also be referred to as the third committee, comes out of the second committee, which was not good. So
I'm glad that they're called committee. I love when any kind of language that we usually see demonized as like communist is just like thrown in there. I'm like, bring it back. We need to talk about these terms and ideas.
Say, I shirk at some of these ideas too, also just because I'm extremely black-pilled as far as statecrafting goes. As of like the last couple of years, become a thing that's hard to look past. Especially because I personally am interested in so much media that also happens to be concerned with the ways in which governments can totally suck ass. Speaking of which, I did finish Battlestar Galactica. It destroyed me.
Ghost had something.
The world of Lancer is like sick as hell, and it paints a really hopeful view of the future in a lot of ways, but it's rough getting there. Like, one of the things Brian said is you have to have your hands be really bloody in order to kind of want to pull out of what is essentially a massive nosedive. And Lancer has like a lot of prehistory in the game. I think for the most part you don't need to know it, but like humanity killed Earth very early on in Lancer's backstory. The population went from 15 billion to less than 500,000 over the course of a millennia. We launched a bunch of generation ships into space in the hope that they would be able to colonize something successfully. Then the survivors still on Earth found vaults of like golden age technology that it was basically like Napoleonic era armies suddenly discover like Command and Conquer Prism laser tanks. It goes really bad, and people decide that we should form a union, and that union should like begin to function in a way where we don't try and like kill the Earth again, because they went from having 15 billion people and believing that they were the first time humanity had ever existed on the planet. It was so dire that there was no structure that existed. There was like a brand new version of civilization, and then they find all these vaults and they go, hang on a minute, we're the survivors of an apocalypse that we created.
I am obsessed with stories like that.
It's a great trope. It did just occur to me that you could run like a prehistoric Lancer game in the Tankhead setting and it would fit basically perfectly. So shout out to Tankhead.
No, I love stories like that. Oh, no, Alice, go ahead.
No, you finish that thought. I have other thoughts.
No, I love stories like that. One of my favorite games of all time, I haven't played the second one, so I can't comment on anything like that, but is Horizon Zero Dawn. And I remember beating that game was the first time I encountered the idea of humanity giving up and just hoping that like the second chance would work. And like, it was funny because like, I don't believe in giving up. I don't believe that the world ever ends. It just changes. And like that can be really hard to believe in because it's nicer to believe in the idea that everything will collapse and we'll have a blank slate. But like, I really love the idea of like everything fell apart. Everything went so bad. Please learn from this mistake. I like the idea of utopia not being because everything is so easy that we're just going to dream of a world where everything is even easier and nobody has to want for anything. I love the idea of utopia literally being the dream and built on the bodies of people who wanted something different because they experienced something horrible. Like, it's really compelling.
Well, there's a line in the core book for Lancer that says that Union's archaeologists discovered that there were technologies that could have saved the world, but people just held them back because they were like, well, there's more money that could be made if we just charge people for it.
So something, and one of the great core conceits, and the quote you set up top, Ghost, really leans into it, is that most of what we engage with in the sci-fi setting is grim dark. Everything is shit. Fuck everything. It all sucks. Which is like, I can enjoy those, but it gets very tiring. Like, Warhammer 40k can exist over there, but I don't always want to be playing it. And where Lancer kind of excels is in that they're like, no, we're going to have this utopian society that's still, flexing out and growing. The ones I want to lean on specifically is the Culture series by Ian M. Banks, in which the Culture is a post-scarcity society that interacts with other parts of humanity and alien species in a way of like, how do we not fuck up what we got going on? We want to keep things chill. And includes, their special circumstances division that keeps things, above board. And also I want to give credence to Star Trek Section 31, now available on Peacock, in which we also go over how you can't have a utopia without people in the background doing dirty work.
Hey, I would like to go wildly off my reservation and say that I want to make an official stance.
Okay. Whoa!
My
who's gonna write this?
I'll write it down. I know the timestamp of this episode, so I've already pre-written it in the spreadsheet. No,
Ghost is getting meta on us.
Yeah, right. It's bits on bits on bits. Lancer tends to use 3D printing as a Star Trek style replicator solution to material problems, and replicators don't make Star Trek possible. Star Trek makes replicators possible. That is my official stance. I think that you need to have that mindset of egalitarianism.
Oh, sure. Okay. Yeah.
For replicators to work. Like, if we introduce replicators right now, pretty quickly it would belong to one bald-headed guy in San Francisco.
Totally. Yeah, I mean, I think that's a good bridge too, which is to something that I kind of want to talk about vis-a-vis the setting, which is just that I think that there is an interesting stable challenge to utopic fiction, which is just that if it's a true utopia, then it can be kind of boring to tell a story about. This was kind of Gene Roddenberry's final pivotal issue with the Star Trek franchise as it entered the 90s continuities. Gene Roddenberry would have hated DS9. Gene Roddenberry would have hated Section 31, for example. Even the gross neckworms episode of The Next Generation, I think, was too much for Gene. But you, without turning your gaze inward on your own society and finding faults in that utopia, it can be hard to generate conflict. And so one of the things that Lancer does, one of the things that Star Trek does is it puts the impetus of the story on people who exist at the fringes who are pushing the boundary of that society and thus interacting with other ways of being that may or may not be interested in that philosophy and how that can generate conflict, which I think is really interesting. But like Ghost said, the other thing that it does that I think is kind of unique is the history of the setting is also extremely storied, and also there are a lot of consequences that remain to be seen and remain to be dealt with from that period, that are also really generative ways to drum up conflict.
Yeah. I think the one final thing I'll say is I think something we are struggling with right now in the real world is that it's the issue of if you allow freedom of speech, that includes hate speech, Or do you take the stance of the bartender at the punk bar who, when Nazis try to start coming into the punk bar, you pull out a baseball bat and you chase them out of your fucking punk bar? Like, I do like when people have to confront, or when people make the stance that it's like, if you do want something good to exist and you do want freedoms to flourish, if there are ideologies and if there are people who fundamentally are opposed to the very structure of your society, like, you don't necessarily have to entertain them, but like making that space will probably involve conflict. And I
love
Gundam
like Wing Endless Waltz.
Yeah.
I know we're all struggling out there. I'm struggling to open a pickle jar currently.
Are you
Is that
really?
what you're doing off cam?
Yeah, it's not going well.
I don't believe you, because I feel like your shoulders aren't tense enough to be trying to open something.
This is not a video podcast. Please play in the space, Brian.
No, I want you to hold up a pickle jar. This is my improv go-to. No!
I'll go downstairs and I'll get pickles, but I'm also coming back with potato salad, so...
No, we can't have you eating potato salad on mic again. Not when Ghost is here, come on.
What are some of the things we want to talk about with the setting, though? Like, what are some of the specific like actual beats?
I want to mention that it is very cool that there are no aliens. I think I love aliens. I'm the #1 Mass Effect sicko bitch, but like if we're gonna talk about like the struggles for utopia, I love that this setting is like, okay, we are talking only about humanity. We are gonna have to focus on humanity because it avoids the problem of sci-fi where it's like everyone on X planet is like this, or like Mass Effect where every human is from Toronto. Like
every human is from Toronto and fucking racist as fuck.
So everyone that's deeply familiar with Lancer lore, as soon as you said there's no aliens, we all took like a sharp, deep breath inwards.
Oh no.
So there's alien like little animals. There's like little critters that are like
there are
non-sentient life that just like wander around.
Neopets ass fuckers.
And the thing that brought about the third committee, which is the fully automated luxury gay space communism system that the players are like usually part of, was SecCom, which was a group of anthro-chauvinist lunatics that the first time they encountered sentient alien life, they committed a xenocide. And everyone back on Cradle were like, hang on a minute, that's really not okay. And there was essentially just like a gigantic revolution. There's like SecCom guys that are still out there, like holding on to like terrible sort of regressive beliefs. And they're really good people to have in a game when you need someone that it's morally justified to kill. In fact, it's good and cool. If you're playing Lancer, blow up some SecCom guys. It'll make you feel better. I
think that's interesting because it is still aliens are present, but it is still human focused because it's like our reaction to the presence of aliens.
Yeah. SecCom, I think, has it's got 3 sort of governmental pillars. All shall have their material needs fulfilled. No wall shall stand between worlds, and no human shall be held in bondage through force, labor, or debt.
I love not being held in debt. Frankly, we should all adopt that one.
And force, because I'm thinking a lot about the fact that like the 13th Amendment has opened up a lot of shit. Yep.
Alice, you look like you either have something or you're watching.
Or you've got the pickle jar.
What's that pickle jar as a pig?
It would be so fucking funny if every so often we just saw Alice like
eat a pickle.
Hey, can we take a quick 5-minute break? I want to do a bit. No, what I want to say, my favorite part of the setting, just to kind of put it, is they thought about it and they answered it. That's my favorite part is, hey, how could luxury gay space communism work? Things would go wrong. Oh yeah, they did. That already happened. We don't have to relitigate things going wrong. We didn't get it right the first time, or the second
first few times,
or the third time. But we're doing pretty good now. Like, we can look around and be like, no, we already learned that lesson. The whole point of this is people learn their lessons.
Imagine if we learned from history.
Imagine if you learned from history is the thesis of
That's the greatest fiction at play here, I think.
I mean, I don't want to make it sound like everything in this setting is like grim and serious and like we've got to be very tragic about all this. Like, there's definitely fun stuff. If you die, you can get flash cloned into another body. In the book, there's like a table that you can roll on that gives that body a quirk. So maybe you're a mind reader now, or maybe there's like a data stream fuck up and you're part of a weapon blueprint. Or maybe your clone isn't actually your clone. Maybe it's the clone of someone famous, and now all of a sudden you're also having to deal with the paparazzi.
No.
Yeah, like you're a very famous Lancer.
No, I love this. I'm over here like, fuck, I love Six Wakes by Mur Lafferty. Like, let me bring another book to this podcast. I love details like that. And I mean, I said there's no humans, but I mean, a major part of the setting are NHPs. Or yeah, there's no aliens, but there are NHPs, so non-human persons who are like hyper advanced shackled AI, which is like, I'm already there.
Yeah,
shackled.
We had one of those in our game session.
Yeah, we did.
Just so you know.
Yeah,
Alice flirted with
NHPs
it.
are great fun.
We're gonna talk about her later.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, an NHP is. So paracausality is real in Lancer. Paracausality is when there's pickles now. No, that's not what paracausality is. Paracausality is not there's pickles now. Although it could be.
Paracausality is when there's pickles now, actually.
That is the official stance of the
paracausality is real in Lancer. Paracausality is when pickles just appear, but it's also when the outcome of something happens in a way that's not determined by a precept of that thing. So it's essentially like space magic bullshit. And the biggest kind of paracausal event in Lancer that you'll have to kind of know about is when something called Ra manifested into our universe by 5 planet-sized simulations, all agreeing that Mars's moon Deimos should disappear, because in their simulation they were all like, no, that's happening right now. And for the simulation to be perfect, reality had to obey the simulation rather than the other way around. So a moon disappeared.
Fucking awesome.
With all of it. So the moon disappeared with all of its people still on it. And then it came back, and it was kind of controlled or populated or driven by an entity called Ra, who is eldritch, non-ontological math as a sentient creature. When I said we have like nouns and verbs all over the place, this is what I meant.
So anyway, math hates you in the Lancer universe, and that's another reason that this is a good game.
I love the Forever War.
Oh, well.
But Ra has bits of it that kind of fell off into smaller systems that gave rise to non-human persons. And NHPs are... they're basically everywhere. And sometimes they're like Alice's wife, where they help control a spaceship, and other times they're like ravening psychopaths inside a Lancer mech that you kind of point in the direction of enemies.
AKA my wife.
Yep.
Yeah, I can see that.
True.
When Lancer first came out, there was a thing where you had to, where in order to get an NHP to behave, you had to do a process called shackling on it, where you would keep it like locked up and contained, but eventually you would need to essentially like reset them. And as they were called non-human persons, the idea of keeping them shackled and then once every 12 months, like erasing their brains and personalities and just going, nope, you're back. And
I love Star Wars.
Yeah, I know. I was literally about to say I love Star Wars.
Like, it started to feel more and more hinky. So now, in like more recent books, the reset procedure, it's treated as like, oh, it's just like a really nice extended vacation for them where they come back and they're like really like not as stressed and lunatic as they once were.
Yeah.
We sent your NHP to a nice farm upstate where it could play with all the other NHPs, and when it came back looking basically identical, it was better. Oh, I love that kind of shit. All right, do we want to talk? I feel like we've talked a lot about the setting. Do we want to talk about how the game is played, like the mechanics and stuff?
Yeah, I was going to ask, do we have any other setting stuff before we go into mechanics?
Thanks, host of the pod, Niko.
Alice, if you touch your mic, you have 3 more attempts to touch your mic, and then I'm going to call the fucking FBI on you. This is what I mean.
I've been trying to. All right. I've been trying to mute it when I eat the pickles, so you don't have to edit out pickles sounds. But
now I have to edit out a bunch of bumps and a fucking section of you being muted. Okay, just eat the pickles or don't.
Okay.
Cool.
Damn.
Host of the pod, Niko, get us back. Get us to the mechanics section, Niko.
I already did, bitch. We live here. Brian, what is a D20?
A D20
I'm sorry to do this in front of you, Ghost.
No, you keep chugging those pickles.
Thank you.
Christ.
My one true soldier.
If Alice has no fans, the Ghost is dead. Yeah, so this is what I was talking about earlier when I said that the way that this game gets complicated is quite interesting because when I don't know about everybody else, when I think of a complicated tabletop game, I think of like several dice types. I think of like having to roll several dice at once, kind of shit. The most you'll ever do with, I don't want to say that because I've played like an hour of this game, but generally the most you'll ever do is like roll a d20 every so often and roll 2d6 every so often. So that part is actually super easy. It's like d20 plus a modifier or 2d6 plus a modifier for like almost everything. Which I found very delightful because the more dice happen to me, the more I get overwhelmed.
Mo dice, mo problems.
Mo dice, mo problems. I don't want to be rolling like fucking fate dice over here.
If you make me roll a d8, I'll kill you.
If you...
No, but you see, if you roll and you get this color icon, it means that you get an extra charge of blood. And if you roll the dice and get this icon, it means bad thing happen.
And if you, so sorry to Ghost personally, but if you make me buy a different kind of die just for your game, I'm out.
I'm going to buy those like novelty sex dice and like make a Lancer splat book that incorporates just those dice.
Whisper into ass.
Lick ear.
Anyway, sorry. I should also answer Niko's question from earlier, which is to say a D20 is a 20-sided die. A D6 is a 6-sided die. If you're not familiar with tabletop games, there's a lot of jargon, but fundamentally you're playing with rocks.
Ghost, what's your dice sexuality? We've all shared ours. Dice sexuality. Where do you land on dice? Do you like just a couple? Do you like many different kinds? Do you like proprietary dice?
According to the GDPR, you don't have to answer that.
So it's sensitive data, so this isn't going out, right?
Yeah, no, obviously
okay,
not.
great, that's fine.
No, this is just us.
Just us and the pickles.
Okay. I'm from Rugrats? No, I have been... I've been playing RPGs for, I want to say like 25 years at this point. I have a dice bag that is a fridge bag that I just fill with random dice that I find on the floor at conventions. I don't buy
Ghost
dice.
lives the most fucking fascinating life out of anyone I've ever met.
Well, they can't buy possessions in the monastery we keep them in, so they can only get the loose dice from conventions.
We only let Ghost out to run games or go to cons.
And harvest dice off the ground.
People be like, I'm posted on r/anti-consumption because I didn't get a Starbucks today. And Ghost is like, I walk around conventions with a freezer bag I've had for 20 years and collect dice.
I don't carry the freezer bag around
Ghost
with
is gonna
me.
get H5N1 from a dice.
But yeah, I have no dice in there that are part of a set. Dice are there to be rolled. They're not there to look good on Instagram.
What?
That's a powerful stance. That is like that is the most anti-consumerist stance.
I
Look
totally
at the
love
dice
that
goblin
stance.
in your heart.
I just love pretty dice, though. I can't lie about it.
That's fine. That's fine. I love games that use like custom dice, proprietary dice. Like the Star Wars fighting fantasy game Star Wars system is great. Even Dungeon Crawl Classics has a D22 dice, which is not a platonic solid, which is kind of weird. I also love Vampire, which has
Yep.
You can
Which,
use.
I mean, those are just D10s or D8s, but one of them has a different little special symbol on it.
Yeah, exactly. You can totally do that. It's fine.
Yeah.
Most of Ghost's life is weird freezer bag based. So.
Ghost is living the freezer bag monastery basement trash lifestyle. That's a new core. A new core just dropped.
You've heard of cottagecore. What about
What about grocery
basement
bag
core.
monastery basement core?
Oh my goodness. But yeah.
This is I like to call the way that the Lancer talks about its rules as new wave RPG, which is to say it is very specific to tell you like there are some rules that you're not going to follow all the time. You should have fun with this game, as opposed to like early versions of D&D, which is like the GM is your father and your commander, and the rules are the scriptures by which he commands your life.
And if he decides to kill you, he caught you slipping.
Yeah.
it's kind of like hardcore Roman Catholic versus modern day Lutheran, you know, like there's different ends to the spectrum here for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Union is actually short for Unitarian Universalist.
Yeah. But the other thing about this game, and this is something Ghost said something very, I think, true and interesting during our session last week, which is just that this game that we've talked about so far is like one half of Lancer. The other half of Lancer is straight up Warhammer like stapled on to the end of it. BattleTech actually would be the better. It's just straight up BattleTech. So you have things like distance and range and height and difficult terrain and visibility and all that other stuff. That is where I feel that combined with just how many things that your mech can end up being capable of doing are where the game actually gets crunchy to me. And that's where I can get a little bit overstimulated, I think. But yeah.
Lancer is a super modal game. Like you have narrative play and you have mission play. But it's
just
really
pogging hearing supermodal, thinking we're about to talk about trains and transport systems.
I don't
Well,
even
you have
play
your-
City Skyline.
Well, you have your narrative car, which is where you talk to each other and do gay pilot shit, and then you proceed to the next car, which is when you do the mission.
The
and
Marlboro Unlimited Spa car, which is where you do combat.
To be clear, like it is literally BattleTech, right? Like, you will have time on the ship to, or I mean, not necessarily on the ship, but like you will have time to do your like. Actually kind of fairly powered by the apocalypse flavored like interpersonal political like skill check type shit, and then you can like do a mission, which like missions have like clearance like victory conditions, and like they're very like Ghost said, like modular, like it is an episode or a mission in a video game like
Yeah,
in
I
itself.
have to say, I haven't played it, but like this immediately brought to mind for me something like 13 Sentinels, where like half of it is a visual novel and then half of it is a strategy game. I
was gonna call that out. Yeah, that's exactly. Yep.
I have never played 13 Sentinels, but I've played a lot of Persona. And I think that's
it's like
very similar.
Honkai Star Rail.
Oh,
it's just like Honkai. Lancer is just like Honkai Star Rail.
saying this, I say that all the time.
But no, I think that this is interesting because, like, you know, obviously we were comparing and contrasting earlier with D&D 5e. I think a lot of people are intimidated by this, and I definitely am. I am a person who had DM burnout because I was running a game that had a lot of crunch to it. But what I think is interesting is that, like, all of these rules and conditions being laid out and being part of the game and being so explicitly set up, it takes that burden off the DM to make up something on the fly. Because, like, even when you're playing the most open, like, you know, just airy-fairy, we're telling a story game, every once in a while somebody will be like, well, we're in combat, but I'm behind a concrete wall. Like, do I get any modifier? Like, does that help me in any way? And so many times that comes down to the DM going, oh, yeah, I guess that would help you take a +2 or whatever.
Take advantage,
Whereas a system like this, they don't have to go to the DM for like every judgment about cover, about what those rules are here.
Because cover is a rule.
Yeah,
if
there are
you're
mechanics
in cover,
that you can
cover.
access and you can learn them. And I think that is actually cool. And I think that's something that like got left behind for a minute, but I think it is actually really helpful for those rules to be open, clear to the players, and like for a player to be competent with them takes that load off the DM to constantly be making calls like that.
Now to like kind of balance that though too, there's also like, I think to compliment Ghost here, like one of the impressions that I got while we were playing too was that Lancer also rewards the entire table for having a good DM who is looking at opportunities to do things with the players and reward the players and engage with the players on like various different levels. The other thing I would say is that in order to have rules for cover and distance and range, you basically need to make or have a map every single time you do anything. But like there's like we mentioned earlier, Lancer has such a permissive like fan base. Like you can always just get those things from other people. So
yeah, that's the impression that I get too.
Yeah.
It's one of the things that Niko said is that it's about the rules that are in there. Lancer has a real precision in how it's written. The language is like part of the reason that I mentioned this like 4th edition D&D is because it's like really involved in keywords and the precise mechanical verbiage of it. The narrative game for Lancer, like being generous in the book, is 10 pages long. And mech combat is laid out over the next 25 pages. And the rules for mechs, equipment, other bits and pieces, and statuses is more than 200 pages.
But like to be fair, like I mentioned earlier too, like a lot of that is also just like listing different things that you may or may not ever have any reason to read.
Exactly. It's a reference manual. Like no one has ever read the player's handbook from front to back in D&D because like it's a reference manual. You read the bits that you need to read.
So that's like just to speak on that too, like one of my favorite things that the book says up at the top about the rules is that the more specific a rule it is, the more superseded it is over a rule that is general. So like that's just like that is a helpful sort of framework to understand like, oh well, the book says this and it also says this, and if you're in a very specific situation, like I'm speaking in big terms here because this is something that happens actually quite frequently in all tabletops, which is just to say that like the players and the DM have managed to corral themselves into a situation where even though at onset the rules don't do this, they happen to contradict each other for this very specific moment. And I think that Lancer having a built-in like presupposed statement for doing that is very helpful and part of that very precise language.
It helps address the very common problem of rules lawyering, where it's like, well, I found this and I found that. It's like, well, there is an overarching rule, which is if it's more specific, that's the one you follow. Like, I really love that.
Do we have any more like mechanic stuff? This is a mech podcast. We're about to talk about
Ghost,
a bunch of mechs, but
you've run this. How does this feel different as a GM? Would be my question.
From other sort of systems, like what kind of systems would you say it's
like,
different
compare
from?
This to dungeon mastering and D&D and like storytelling and vampire. How about that?
So yeah, sure. I would say that the narrative angle of it is in the core book it's quite thin. I know there's like at least one person from the Lancer Discord listening to this that's yelling about the boons and ties system that they introduced in the Carrick and Trade Baronies book, which I think bulks it up, but I haven't read that one, so I can't really comment.
But you're our correspondent.
I haven't had time to read all of them, I'm sorry.
Why haven't you read all 10,000 pages of Lancer lore?
Of the Baronies Treaty?
Because you people keep making me write down official stances.
That's so true. That's
We've
so
got to
fair.
stop making stances.
But in terms of like the actual sort of mechanics of it, I think there's the online component, ComCon, really, really helps. ComCon is a system that has the encyclopedia of everything that every mech can do in it. Every enemy in the entire system is based off of like 12 archetypes. So in the game that we played, there was a big defending kind of guy, and there was like 2 little assault guys and a drone swarm nexus thing. Those are, on a fundamental level, the same thing. They all have like the same kind of group of stats, but you can mix and match different subcomponents into them. So the defender that you guys faced, he had 1 point of extra armor, so he had 3 points of armor, which just reduced all incoming damage, and he also had a reaction where he could just decide, actually, that damage didn't hurt me, and he had another reaction where he could go, instead, I do want to take that damage, but I will chase you 3 hexes when you move away from me.
Yeah, that was fucking scary.
He approacheth.
The enemies are built in a way where you have to you can look at them, you can scan them. If you scan them, which is like an action in the game, you can just see all the stats the enemy has and the moves, and you can just learn to play around them. And the options that are available to the GM that's running it for building a compelling combat encounter, it is just light years ahead of opening the monster manual, looking at the Lich, and going, oh my god, why does it have 26 spell slots? I can't imagine, Critical Role, their longest episode until, like, the most recent one is the end of Season 1, and it's 6 hours where they fight Vecna, and it's, like, 7 rounds of combat across 6 hours. Like, it is barely 45 seconds of real time. And Lancer has a tendency to move much faster because everyone can see precisely where they are, what they're doing, what their options are, what their resources are in terms of full action, reaction, quick action, whether they can overdrive, whether they can take heat. All of these things, and ComCon really helps with that, makes it so that the players can carry a lot of the cognitive load, and the GMs can offload some of that, because the GM, they're having to run the entire world. They can't do everything for the players all the time.
Yeah. Follow for more GM sentiment, soft GM sentiment.
No, I mean, I agree. As a general rule, like, the GM is also a player, so I appreciate when the GM doesn't have to feel like it's a full-time job.
The GM is here to make me the special little girl, thank you.
That's not a GM, that's a different thing, my dear.
Oh.
But, like,
different
so we said we would
master.
talk about it. ComCom stands for the Companion Concierge Unit.
Is ComCon, did Massive make ComCon? Is it player sourced? What's the story there?
How is it free?
How the fuck is that free?
It's, I think it is a third-party tool that kind of grew arms and legs and wings and tails became an official thing.
It's so fantastic. Like, I can't tell you enough how easy it was to make my character.
You can join their Patreon now to support them. They currently rake in $1,200 a month to maintain.
And I'm glad. Damn. I'm glad they're getting paid. Like, this is really, really cool. Like, the design echoes the book. I love when things do that, and it doesn't just look like totally random. It has, like, everything. It looks cool as hell. You can load data. You can create an account. Like,
tiny like text loading animations are so fucking cool.
Yeah. And there's just clearly a love and a craft here.
I'm not usually someone who just sits there and idly makes RPG characters. I usually like to make a character for a game. But I could see myself, like, just playing with ComCon and, like, making a bunch of weird dudes who are fucked up.
And it ties directly into Foundry, which we used for our play.
Bruh. It does. Foundry's crazy.
Foundry is so cool, guys. I love Foundry.
Well, we will talk about that a little bit more later.
Bit later. Let's talk about Mechs on the Mecha podcast. The wonderful thing this book does.
It's hour 1 minute 23. Let's talk about Mechs.
That's so us, though.
I love the way this does it. It's just like Tankhead. There are I would call it 4.5 corporations that basically manufacture most mechs. And I say corporations, I should say entities because it gets a little weird. But yeah, so the first one I have listed, I just listed them, I think, in the order the book does, which is the first one being General Massive Systems. This is just like Space Microsoft. Like they're just everywhere. They're just like the old one who's just been chugging along this whole time. This is going to be your first frame if you like start at license level 0. Any thoughts on any GMS stuff?
GMs?
Yeah, I saw you put that in the outline. I don't know what that means.
The GM from Gundam is my favorite.
Oh!
No, I love it. I love General Dynamics. This is great. I love just a Office 365 subscription Word document ass mech.
Yeah, this one to me is the 0.5 of the 4.5, by the way.
So they, I think they're less Microsoft and more Space Walmart.
Oh, okay, that's
because,
fair.
like,
yeah.
They produce more stuff. When Union comes to a world and it says, hello, you're part of Union now, and they go, cool, what does that mean? It says, well, your planet's now full of GMS products. Everything kind of looks like grey. Everything looks kind of uniform. They're also the first company that ever made a mech in the setting. They had an armored up like hard suit, and they were like, what if we did that, but bigger?
Bigger, yeah.
People
that's
kind
of galaxy brain thinking. Yeah, we don't have that.
That's ultra Chad brained thinking right there.
What if bigger?
What if bigger? Yeah, like I don't know. The coolest thing about GMS to me is just that, like, because they're so old and because all their shit is everywhere, like they're basically compatible with everything, which is pretty neat to me. Maybe they're more like Space Linux. Linux Walmart.
No, I think we'll get to Linux.
Laser.
Oh, you're right. There's a different place. There's a different thing that's Linux. GMS has green laser. GMS has all the lasers.
They do.
They're all grayscale though.
Gray laser.
We got gray laser now.
But yeah, I none of the like particular like models that they give for these in the book are like wow amazing to me. The one that you get by default and the one that we used in our little one shot was the Everest, which feels very, again, like this is when you get the sword at the beginning of the video game that kind of does a little bit of everything, but none of it particularly well or to any shocking degree. So yeah, that's their general feel to me.
I like specifically one thing I will say, like if we're talking about the ethos of the book, if we're talking about the setting, the fact that this GMS model is called Everest does not go uninterrogated. Like when you look at Everest in the book, it talks to you about the history of Mount Everest, its original names, and like why that name would carry significance. Like I think that's so cool. Like you just open this up and it's like, hey, yeah, this is a word you recognize. Let's interrogate it a little bit. I like
they really do like think of everything and try to make all the concepts at least have like a lineage that makes sense, which is very hard to do, and they did a pretty good job, I think. Mm-hmm. Do we want to go on to IPS North Star?
Yes.
I have one quick thing if I could.
Yeah.
The Everest is the mech that everyone should start in. If you are running Lancer and you are finding that your game is like flaming out, the odds are it's because you didn't start everyone in an Everest. Like that is just some GM advice.
Why do you think that is?
If you start, so as you level up in Lancer, you unlock like new systems that you can begin to like carry over into other mechs and add to things and change stuff up. And that can become really overwhelming really quickly. So if you're brand new at the game, if you're like on session 1 or session 2, you want to have like a cool power up that just makes you a little bit better. You want to have a gun that you can fire once around, and you maybe want to have like a couple of turrets that you can put down, and that's like that's where your headspace is. But if you go, actually, I want to take the thing that makes me a little bit better. I want to take the missile pod from the Monarch, and I want to take the core power from this Horus thing, and I want to take this thing from over there. All of a sudden, you've got this build that you found on the Lancer Discord that you go, oh, this is fantastic. I have no idea how to play it effectively.
That makes sense.
Can we play something else?
Yeah, learn on the starter car.
Learn on the starter car for sure.
Yeah.
I found myself quite like even with just the base Everest, like you find yourself capable of a whole lot So I totally can see why that would happen.
You got to learn to drive before you can start hot rodding. Like, that's something they won't tell you in Fast and Furious, but...
That's why it took me 2 years to get a good microphone.
Yeah, we were all just learning to podcast.
Yeah, IPS North Star. This is I love the setting context of IPS North Star, which is we started making mechs because we kept getting robbed. Yeah, so like this is a conglomerate of like goods transportation companies. Their mechs are designed to combat like piracy while their goods are in transit, basically. And so they just kind of make like a purpose-built fleet of like the impression I get is like there's a whole lot of melee shit going on with IPS North Star, because they're parked outside their cargoes and ready to like hit somebody away.
Yeah, IPSN's whole vibe to me is like blue collar working man mech. My hands look like this, so Smith Shimano's hands can look like that.
Yes, yes.
That's really good.
Their home base, like that's like the vibe that they give off, but like their home base is like a tropical island planet that's full of like runaway researchers doing, you know, high-end
fuck that rules
quantum research on stuff.
You got to go somewhere on when you got leave, when you got vacation.
But yeah, like this is one of the, since we're getting into more specialized mechs, like this is one of my favorite things about Lancer as like a concept is just that like they took so much deliberate care to trace a bunch of like logical lineages back, like because of the sensibilities that went into why these mechs exist. Like one of their main frames has an ability which is basically like you can't be destroyed, but you can be made extremely, extremely useless over a very long period of time, which I just think is like a very fun like concept to have.
I will say a lot of the IPS North Star mechs look like knights or military figures, or like there's definitely an energy to a lot of them. I'm thinking of the Nelson literally looks like a classical knight. And like the Raleigh has kind of like an interesting like its head looks like it has a hat, which I always love, that kind of thing. But I would like to shout out my baby girl for IPS North Star, which is the Lancaster.
Yep. This is straight up that police dog that they were shoving in those videos, but like a mech.
It's like a big, it's my friend. I don't know what to say about it. It's like a big, the one on here has a name written on it. It's Bess. And I'm just like, it's like a big cow. It's like a big mule.
I didn't
like
see that they had
dog.
named it Bess.
Yes. I'm obsessed with the big cargo guy.
Yeah. They look like, again, like they look like if you take one of those like weird police drones that are terrible that they were like shoving around in that one video, but made it like a big, cool, like, olive drab like mech with also two little
arms,
gentle hands.
It is it's somewhere between World War II trench coat and a Toyota Hilux. Like that's kind of like their vibe.
The roll cage on the front is just like the roll cage on the front makes it to me. I love this thing.
I love this thing. The other ones are also cool, but the Lancaster is my friend personally.
This is on page 137 of the Lancer Corps book. If you have that or are getting it, or I'm assuming you can find these images also if you search Lancer IPSN. What is this, Lancaster? Yeah. There's also a guy with a mustache and he's got a beer and he's cheersing you sitting on top of it. I think Ghost is so right. This is so blue collar core.
It's it provides ammo. It's one of the fastest mechs in the game. Like it starts with
terrifying,
like speed 5. It is like it's the size of like a school bus on legs. Yeah. It's full of drones. It's full of ammo. It's full of like repair kits. It is a support vehicle. It is there to make your team better.
If I saw this thing sprinting at top speed, I think I would shit myself. That would be anyway.
It has a winch. It can pull your Jeep out of a ditch.
Do you guys want to get onto some sicko rich people shit?
Let's go into the
fucking
sicko
shit. I
you
knew
don't
you
even
would be,
know.
Alice.
Guess who my favorite is?
Let's talk about legs.
Let's talk about Smith Shimano and their weird limbs. Yeah.
These freaks in deep space. What the fuck are they doing?
I love Smith, Shimano, and Horace have the best bylines on their little sections. Smith Shimano's is "You only need one." Again, oh sorry, go ahead, Ghost.
Yeah, Smith Shimano, anime Mechs, designer brands. They're big into genetic manipulation and forced selective evolution. One of the things they have to keep saying is we don't sell people, we sell potential, which has really strong "we don't sell people" t-shirt has people asking a lot of questions that have already been answered by my t-shirt energy.
Again, to kind of go back to Heaven Will Be Mine, which I think this game is very again, that's another setting that I think was super compatible with this like whole idea. This is very celestial mechanics. Before that thing, that event that Ghost talked about where evil math took the moon away, they were like very interested in mech human hybrid shit. I think that the whole evil math taking the moon away thing made everybody a little bit scared of transcendentalism. But that was a thing for a while. Just such cool shit. Like, imagine being able to say that about your setting.
I love this shit.
Yeah, these are so cool. Every single one of the Smith Shimano mechs are amazing.
So I love a lot of them, just actually love them, but I really want to talk about the Death Head. Can we just talk about that little freak with its little feetsies?
The Death's Head has a lot of thighs and calves, is what I'll say.
The Death's Head looks like a Metal Gear Tachikoma.
Yeah, it really does. It has that like organic limb profile, but also
the two
with
human
like the rounded
hands.
Shapes. Yeah. It is.
That's
it
a
is
man's
doing
hand.
some
Look
shit.
how long the legs are, the little handsies.
This thing rules.
My favorite of the Smith Shimano has to be the most Dark Souls looking motherfucker on here, which is the Morning Cloak.
Oh yeah, that was my favorite until I saw my favorite. This thing is straight up.
This is the Dancer of the Boreal Valley.
It is. It's straight up the Dancer of the Boreal Valley. It's so fucking sick. I love it so much.
It's wild.
Yeah. So these are like Ghost was mentioning, these are like transhuman deep space exploration mechs, and so like they're doing like the anime. They are very lanky and limby, and I imagine they move a lot like Ava units do. From Evangelion, like very humanoid, very like, instead of moving like a robot being controlled by a human, I imagine that they move a lot more like a human on their own. That kind of thing.
I would say my favorite one out of all of them is probably the Monarch, which
Monarch is great.
It's basically just a big red Gundam. It can fire a missile that locks on and hits the turn after it's fired. So you can just like keep pumping out missiles. So in one turn, it's possible to like hit with 8 different projectiles, which is a lot.
That's a lot of projectiles.
Also,
I would say it's a Macross worth.
I love Warframe.
Yeah, that is kind of the energy here to the aesthetic. It's a little bit Ava, it's a little bit Dark Souls, it's a little bit Warframe. It's giving. It's giving. I want to shout out the Swallowtail, which is straight up the Ghost in the Shell mech. It has a cloak and everything. It crouches over guy.
But also the Ranger variant fucks so hard. By the way.
You can see how this shit just like sucks people in because it's just like,
I want
look
to
at all these
pilot
fucking
that
cool
thing.
guys. Look at all these fucking cool. I want
to sit in
model
there.
kits.
Hey, what if we were little
I
freaks?
guarantee the community have made like 3D printable guys of all of these things.
Fuck. Once again, I'm oppressed by the fact I don't have a fucking 3D printer.
Can we talk about freaks?
Yeah, shut the fuck up about corporations.
So my shit.
Me and Brian are both like, yeah.
Let's talk about the Horus Heresy.
So what if a ghost from the internet could hack your 3D printer and make you an extremely cursed item?
Who says I
And
can't?
And it whipped.
It whipped.
So our next one is Horus, which is like an inscrutable internet hive mind of like activist hackers, maybe, or also potentially evil alien presidents. Nobody's super sure. So good. And then, they produce mechs by basically hacking other people's manufacturing arrays and just making the thing that they want to make. And you can get in it. And if you get in it, that's cool. Hopefully that works out for you.
Listen, I'm a person who loves shoplifting as a hobby. And as a statement. This is amazing. I love these people. Can you imagine if I could 3D print a house and then drive away in it, I would do it, especially if I didn't pay for the filament and I did not pay for anything. I just left in it. Like, I am absolutely the person who is working like admin at the desk at like fucking like Harrison Armory, and some shit comes out of the printer and I'm like, well, this is my life now, and I just get up and leave. Like, that is I love the whole thing going on here.
So, what little freaks do you guys like from Horus? Thanks for asking. Hydra is my favorite.
Hydra is super sick.
Freak. It basically just is like Psychomu funnels, but it's your whole body.
They have the Balrog. Just if you were worried about it, like if you were like, can I get a Balrog? They have the Balrog. Don't even worry about it. They have the Balrog. That's the
Gorgon is probably like Destiny used to have my favorite interpretation of what a Gorgon means and looks like. This is now my favorite interpretation of what a Gorgon means and looks like. This thing
I have to give a shout out to the Horus Goblin because the game that Tom Bloom is arguably most famous for is not Lancer. It's Goblin with a fat ass. And so in the book, the Horus Goblin has normal art, but there is also Horus Goblin with a fat ass art that you can find on the internet. And I don't mean that in a like go look up porn way. I mean it's like an official style illustration of it, just like crouching with a dumper.
Now, something you might miss if you're just kind of scrolling through these and just kind of glance past the Goblin is that the Goblin is fucking tiny. This is a power suit. This guy is just in here. You can see the way he controls his little digits with like his exposed hands.
I did miss that. Holy
it is
fuck.
So cool. It's so sick.
Which makes the ass an even better upgrade.
Yes.
Like that's literally
the ass is also
your ass.
Tactile and individually opposable ass cheeks.
I mean, I'm glad that you like the Goblin, but as someone that has to run Lancer, I hate this little guy. He's all about like electronic warfare, like stuns and illusions, and in some of the lore for the Goblin, that if you read the book, he might potentially have trapped all of us inside an illusory universe. It's not clear.
That shit
Don't
happens.
worry about it. It's fine. Yeah, it's fine. It's totally fine.
Is it?
That shit happens.
Yeah.
Watch all the Matrix films. They have a happy ending. We're good.
I mean, every mech in Lancer is usually like 1 to 3 hexes big. The Goblin is half a hex, and it usually like latches onto the side of other mechs, and you can just give them your electronic warfare stats.
Tiny, obsessed with him. He's clambering. Shout out to the Minotaur.
Brian, are we going to talk about our favorite?
We have to talk about our favorite, yeah. I just like the Minotaur. But anyway, the Pegasus is one of the coolest fucking drawings I've ever fucking seen in my life.
Oh, man. Do you remember the Gecko Geth from Mass Effect 1? Like, do you remember the frogs from Metal Gear Solid? Do you wish they had an orb?
Do you remember when the best episode of Neon Genesis Evangelion where they try to launch the third Eva unit and it becomes infected by an angel and starts moving all freaky across all the buildings? This is like all of those things plus an inscrutable orb. Like you cannot check.
And on top of everything, you deploy your Pegasus and you shoot somebody who's playing D&D. Because you have the Ushoptal Omnigun, which you can't attack normally with this weapon. Instead, 1 per round as a free action during your turn, you can use it to deal 1 AP damage to a character within range and line of sight. This does not count as an attack. It hits automatically, ignores cover, bypasses immunity, and its damage can't be reduced or ignored in any way. No rule in this book or any other supersedes this. You can snipe a motherfucker playing Shadowrun.
It's got the Presker guns, basically.
Yeah,
from
it's got a gun that just
ancillary trilogy.
This is my sleep paralysis demon.
Yeah, it's my sleep
We're
paralysis
all
demon
paralyzed.
and my best friend.
We're all paralyzed in the mech that we all get in to record this podcast, and Alice is screaming, and Brian is clapping, and I'm holding a rose between my teeth.
The Ghost is in the jump seat.
I also want to point out something on this character sheet, which is very funny, which is just like random mathematical characters extrude gun in bold. I just love that little entry. It's very funny to me.
It's so good. There's a feature of this mech called probabilistic cannibalism. Like, all right, yeah.
Sure.
Anyway.
You know?
Ghost, how do you feel about our best friend, the Pegasus?
I love the Pegasus. I think that as you progress through it, the Omni gun unlocks more strange lore opportunities because it is a gun that has never been fired, and it is a gun that is drowning in blood. It's a gun that doesn't exist, but you can see it right in front of you. It's never been fired, and it will not stop firing. You can cycle it through damage variants. You roll 3d20, and that just changes the damage type that it has, cycling based on what turn it is that it's firing on. It's something you give to a player where that player is super interested in playing their own little mini game.
Sorry,
where they just have a little guy.
I just read that at License 3 this mech wakes up.
Yeah. Yeah.
Holy shit, that's so cool.
Yeah. No,
It wakes up and it hates you.
Yeah.
I could fix her. Let's date.
It's fantastic. I love it.
Pegasus, I'm free on Thursday.
Yeah. Oh, all right. Shall we talk about the dependable boys?
I have a prediction. Because Alice has been very quiet up until this point. I think this is going to be Alice's perverted 15 minutes. Alice, is Harrison Armory something you are into?
I just feel like the military-industrial complex has done a lot of cool things in our time, and Harrison Armory is the military-industrial complex. These guys, look, if you've ever played 13 Sentinels, you know I love a chunky boy. You know I love just a thick, no head,
we've got shapes.
No neck man. We got shields, we got heads that ain't heads, and we've got gun. We got a lot of gun. Harrison Armory
The Iskander is fucking sweet. Yeah, these guys are just army bros. Does anybody have any facts about Harrison Armory that's not just this is Stark Industries?
It's literally what's the shitty human supremacy group from Mass Effect?
Sitcom.
Cerberus.
It's Cerberus.
Yeah.
It's Cerberus. It's legally we're distinct and we're definitely not doing anything fucking evil. They 100% are doing fucking evil shit in the background. But not a cool evil shit like Horus. This is just genuinely upsetting what they're probably doing.
The Iskander is so cool.
It's the only one I like. It's the only one I like out of all of these.
The Sherman is the main battle tank if you weren't using an Everest basically in the system, right?
I like the Napoleon too. I really like the way that it has the shielding. And it's fucking stanced, and it's got 4 beautiful big arms.
It does have 4 beautiful big arms. That gun is also really cool. Ghost, what is your opinion of Harrison Armory? I feel like you had a reaction just now.
Harrison Armory, as a company, real bad news. But the actual mechs, I kind of appreciate them. The Sherman is one that Alice called out. You are essentially a fireball wizard, but you're 30 feet tall. The Iskander has really good sort of earthbender energy. You just throw out landmines, and then you can just hover over them. You'll never set them off, but you can just lock off half the map for the DM to have to deal with. My favorite is the Barbarossa. It's the only size 3 mech in the game that the players have access to. It has a gun that is used to shoot down spaceships.
It's called the Apocalypse Rail.
Yep, it takes 2 turns to fire. 1 turn you have to stand still. If you're moved, you're in serious trouble. Objects hit with it immediately take 100 AP explosive damage when the average health pool in this game is like 12.
Goodbye, you're fucking obliterated.
Yeah, it's just like you're out of the game now.
I love the illustration of the Barbarossa because it has a little suitcase that just came back from its 9 to 5.
It is a businessman.
He means business. He do mean that.
My favorite is the Saladin, who is just the shield mech. You protect your friends, but also I just love where are their necks? But also, while looking for my favorite mech, I found
this one gives me texture ickies. Sorry, go ahead.
One thing I will say, to speak again about the community, is like, if you sort of like any of these, somebody has made a variant that makes it your perfect little boy. And I found the Saladin that I love. Look at this man's legs.
Oh, I have to look.
Thick.
Oh, this is a rectangle.
I love him.
Oh yeah,
I love him so much.
The Harrison Armory Habsburg, which feels very appropriate. This thing has fucking chunky ankles. I'm obsessed with it.
Cankle mech.
That's it. I love a chunk.
I also love a chunk.
Good chunk faction.
You know, the Tokugawa is also pretty cool.
Yeah, it is.
I like its big. I like its weird little accoutrement thing that it's got between its like left shoulder and its chest thing. I don't know what that. I don't know what to call the tassels there, but I like it.
And we also just shout out to the Sunzi for having a jet engine as a head because it opens rifts in space time. I think that's neat.
I love to open rifts in space time. Yeah, those are mechs.
Yeah, those are mechs.
They sure are.
I was looking for a specific meme. I'm sorry, I got really quiet, but I was looking for a specific meme when Ghost said, like, ruin the GM's life by shutting down, like, half the battlefield. There is a Lancer meme.
Just one.
That I love, that it's just like a
there is
squad
one
of
Lancer.
4. It's a squad of 4 just to terrorize your GM personally. And I love that they're like, hey, look at all the abilities of these cool mechs. This is how you can just victimize your friend who volunteered to run this for you.
So good.
It's just do harm. When I find it, I will find it. But anyway.
In a lot of ways, the game is kind of PvP in that sense. At a certain point, like, you get one person that's in a goblin, one person that's in an Iskander, and one person that's in a Saladin refusing to let anything pass.
Saladin whips. I love Alice's custom Saladin. I'm looking at this rectangle. This is an excellent rectangle.
Oh, I also wanted to share. So Alice's one that she posted is from like an independent kind of splat book. That is something, like we mentioned, like there are a lot of people designing really cool stuff for this. I will say I also want to shout out like my other favorite mech that I've seen just from going on itch.io. It is the Tukhachevsky. I love Soviet Kish. This is Harrison Armory's take on electronic warfare. It looks like a satellite. It looks like a Soviet satellite.
Does that have the Mir space station on the back?
Yeah, it kind of does, and I love it.
This is like a little geodesic dome with a pool floater.
It's so good.
I like it. I also like the random
floater. Yeah,
I love the orange floater. I love the random auxiliary fan. Yeah, it's just kind of poking out of the back. Also, that's actually I looked at it at first. I was like, but all the weird little hangers off of this are very good, actually.
Yeah, and this is part of a supplement called Turk Mech and Tech by TERKMC, Turk MC, who does the art and stuff, and it's a third-party work. It is extremely cool. They have a lot of good stuff. They have a guy that's a wheel, if you're into guys who are wheels.
I'm so into guys who are wheels.
you haven't talked about Ball Man.
Yeah, I was about to say, you want to see an inscrutable fucking orb? Here we fucking go.
Same.
Oh, yeah, we can supposed to the same guy.
Same orb.
Orb.
Okay, hold on. This is our special little guy. That's... Oh, my God. I'm obsessed with him.
Between this...
Look at his little rivet gun.
It's just play Dead Space.
It's the Harrison Armory Suleiman. You are a ball. When life hits you hard, roll with the punches. You are a ball, is what I will say to you.
I absolutely hate the thing that Alice just posted.
Oh, I love this thing because it looks like a fucked up industrial, like, oh, I love it. Anyway, go on itch.io and just look at Lancer, like, supplemental stuff. Like, not only does the original book slap ass, absolutely, everybody out there is getting ready to slap more ass at any given point. It's incredible. I think it's really funny. Like, it reminds me of Alice every time going, like, I love a standing man emoji, because this is just like a chunky guy with, like, a little red circle for a head. And I love that, and it has a shotgun. And you know, sometimes that's all you need.
This is all right.
He's just a little guy.
This is a fine mech.
Yeah, you're fine.
That shotgun is referred to as the deck sweeper.
I love that.
I think the rally's way cooler. Just one up from that, personally. But anyway.
Yeah. I just think that this is a perfect game. If you are the kind of person who, like, you love the idea of just, like, finding a weird little freak and then that becoming your favorite character and, like, you learning everything about them, this is a game that is, like, for you in that way, where you pick any mech. It doesn't have to be a cool one. It doesn't have to be one I like. Read through its thing. Think about it deeply. That can be the rest of your life if you want it to be.
Wow, that's so true.
You could just pick a mech from Lancer for free. Well,
for free.
Pay money.
You should pay them. But
no,
you could.
I will say, if you supported the Black Lives Matter bundle 1 million years ago on itch.io, you have Lancer, by the way. So, like, hey, bonus points for giving a shit about people. You also have Lancer.
Yeah. So, Ghost ran like that was like 2.5 hour session for us, right? Last Saturday. It was just a very quick, like, on ship debrief and then a sortie, and then we won because we're pro gamers. Spoiler alert: we were not pro gamers. We had no idea what we were doing for a couple turns. We just ceaselessly fucked ourselves over, but that was very fun too.
Good.
Hey, you guys, you locked down an entire region of the map. Well done.
We did, but also for, like, our first turn, I, like, charged despite not having a front line set up at all, and Alice set up where, like, a weird little turret bunker in an area of the map that never became relevant.
I could have used my eyes to read enemy deployment zone and put it in that direction. Absolutely not. I saw a slight hill and I said, I'm going to set up an encampment. Fields of fire, boys.
But yeah, do we care about, like, the context of the thing at all, or do we want to just talk about the mechanics? Do you want to talk about your character then?
I would love to talk about my character. Thank you for asking, because I get to. So, Niko, you weren't there, so you get to learn about my character.
Mm-hmm.
Please don't do the accent.
I feel like I already know her.
So I was playing Chitley Bales, who is the art I got for, I'm pretty sure, is AI generated because we live in a hellscape. Chili Bales is an A-pop idol that's an Australian pop idol.
Oh my god.
From the popular group AKB49, which is like AKB48 but Australian.
Oh my god.
And Chitley has the call sign Bloomin' Onion. And pilots, she had a GMS Everest, the machine gun one, the pew pew guy. And the art, very proud of the art I found. And its name is Good on ya.
Oh my god, that actually, it does bring to mind the Bloomin' Onion. Just, there's a lot of layers here.
There's a lot of layers. It looks really good. I wasn't able to find good art.
Chili loves to sing and dance and had a consistent accent the whole time.
It was so consistent. And I will say about that mech, as with the Blooming Onion, you probably shouldn't try and eat a whole one by yourself.
What about you, Brian?
God, now I want a Blooming Onion so bad.
We also established that, because this was very short, me and Brian established that we were assigned wingmen for this sortie. So Chitley, who is Chitley paired with for this sortie?
Chili is paired with a non-binary former or famous sculptor who very recently had an extremely public divorce in which their partner A admitted to having an affair, B left them, and then C carried out a political assassination and defected to a rival faction. So basically, they're the most divorced person in all of outer space. And they are like big on just like making shit. So I had like a little handheld 3D printer and like a little third robotic arm. The only thing I ever used the third robotic arm for though was smoking. And I didn't find good art of my mech because I like had a dumb concept for it. Go me. But basically, like, what if the Apokine from Counterweight had like gamer RGBs under it? Is basically what I ended up with. As the same character class, which is washed up vain celebrity, we managed to be completely different people and not get along at all, which is really, really fun.
Probably the exact same deck with, I'm pretty sure the exact same setup. We did not plan it. Just being completely different former celebrities.
I will say from a mecha standpoint, I did have a cool thing just because I was a different like actual pilot class, which is that I got to like slap a big ass weird experimental gun on my mech, which was just the spirit gun from Yu Yu Hakusho. Like I just did finger guns in my mech and shot lasers, which was fun.
That's fantastic.
But yeah, it was we accidentally ended up having 2 GMS Everests that could deploy like 3 turrets each. And so like in terms of our mission victory condition being keep this area of the map clear for X turns, we were very, very well off. But yeah.
I sure did throw down my Jericho barriers facing the entirely wrong direction, however.
There were 4 mechs that were attacking from one side and 3 mechs that were attacking from another. The side with the 4 mechs was the side that all 6 turrets were placed on. And I essentially just was just like, they're never getting through that. They're going to come around that corner and they're just going to be hyper targeted by 6 turrets that just rip them to pieces instantly.
Turrets just do damage in this game.
So
if you hit, they hit.
Yeah. Yeah, the turrets are really cool in that like it's another thing where it's like, yeah, this is another thing to keep track of, but also they just do an extra set of damage whenever you hit somebody. So you don't have to like keep track of like their hit rating or like or anything like that. So that's fun. But yeah, we had 6 of them. Ghost did have one big counterplay to this, which was Huge Man.
Yes, Huge Man. He was
big man.
This big man is a size 2 defender, so everyone else is playing size 1 mechs. This guy's a size 2, so he's literally taking up a vast swathe of the map more. He had the ability to just say, actually, that damage didn't really hurt me. He also had the ability to close distance very quickly. He had the ability to get hit and then decide, when you run away, I'm going to run after you. And he had a rotary grenade launcher that he just like fired into where my players had bunkered up with their turrets. And that was the time that Brian took structure damage in the game.
Yeah, I don't know. I like put myself very close to everything, and I was like trying to like take little pot shots at people, and I did not notice Large Man. I also did not know that Large Man could respond to damage by charging you. So I got into a fist fight with Large Man, and that was bad for me.
Brian was all the way over there charging in. I'm over here bunkering where no one's coming, and it's like, oh, we better think about this.
This is not working.
We are doing so good.
It worked out really good actually because Large Man punches so hard that I flew back 3 hexes, and that happened like 3 times. So I was actually able to cross a lot of distance that way.
Just get punched a lot. But they're also,
which is another BattleTech thing actually, and actually one of the most frustrating things in BattleTech is how you can get punched away from things.
So my thought is, so the minute you drop onto a map in Lancer, and everybody does maps differently, but we had a hex grid, and boy howdy, we in a tabletop war game. I have my 60 little mini D6s to roll damage. I'm deploying my guardsmen, you know, that shit. But something that Ghost did that I found mechanically pleasing was the map had heights, obviously. That's one of the cool things about this. But Ghost had a little shit drone that like went up on top of a height 6 thing and like hit us from across the map.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it was. It's the idea. The module that we were running for the Lancer heads out there was the first map of Solstice Rain, and it has a huge amount of height variance and difficult terrain and all the sort of things that players are expected to encounter. And having the ability to just like have a little guy that just pokes around the edges and is a constant source of like mild frustration for the players, so they can learn. Oh, can we do that as well? Can we hide off in the distance and just make like lock-ons? We just want to lock on to all the enemies so everyone gets advantage. And yeah, it's a great game for tactically and creatively one-upping each other.
We talked about our favorite mechs from the book instead of doing a rating. But if we had done a rating, it would have been very high, I will say, because of a very specific tabletop moment that happened, which is to say, at the beginning of our one-shot, I rolled really well to just like invent something because I was just doing art in the engineering bay or whatever. And I invented a very cool polychrome ashtray, which I installed in my cockpit. And this is what I was talking about when I said Lancer kind of rewards a GM who's kind of paying attention, which is to say, because I rolled well, Ghost gave me a boon on my mech, which was just basically like, if I take structure damage at some point, I can just say that the ashtray broke instead. And just lose the ashtray, which did happen. So like that's just an extreme, like to just be in the genre space of mechs and be playing an RPG. That is just an extremely cool thing to happen. And so yeah, that's just the end. That's actually the most important anecdote from the whole session for me.
My most important anecdote. Thank you for asking. It's pre-flight. My bags are packed. And I am doing karaoke in the ready room with the ship's onboard non-person entity guy lady.
True.
Ghost, remind me about my wife.
Rio, the non-human person aboard the Rio Grande. She was the entity that basically handled all of the ship-side operations. She really wanted to dance, but she's also very busy. And there was a tragic romantic. Yeah, there was a tragic romance that was in the offing when you reached out to try and pull her out of her seat, and the hand just slipped through the air of the holographic projection.
Yuri is the blades in the grass.
Yuri is the hand passing through the light matrix projection.
I have to ask immediately. Was Rio inspired by the 1982 song by Duran Duran?
No, the really bad movie about the bird.
Oh, the birds are back. No, Rio was an official kind of character from the book.
Ghost, can you throw the art of her in here for Nico? I'll put it on the website, but everybody needs to know my wife. I'm going to get back to the ship. I'm getting back to her.
See, on the scale of Edie to Cortana, Rio is much more Cortana. That's the scale, by the way. Edie's on one side, Cortana's on the other. Because in order to become a hot lady, Edie had to have a lot of character growth, and Cortana came as a hot lady.
Speaking of Cortana,
you know what I mean?
Speaking of Cortana,
and that's
Wait,
the character
Cortana
growth that
comes?
AI. Yes, and that's the character growth that female coded AIs are allowed to have in science fiction. Is at one point do you get a hot rockin' bod? I have not finished Mass Effect 3. That is the only character development I've known of Edie.
Remember when
Rio looks like she's about to snap?
Yeah, she's got slightly sort of an administrator that's being asked to handle way too much.
I love
took
her.
A very similar picture.
I can save her.
I have
Can't
a picture
even
of
touch her.
myself that is almost identical to this.
Rio looks like a grad student.
She's got a headset on that just I immediately felt the energy of her.
This expression is a grad student like toward the end of their like dissertation process. That's what that looks like to me.
The thing that I was trying to get to with Rio I bailed on at the last second was I thought Rio should have like a strong Midwestern accent. But I felt that Alice would judge me.
Yeah, I've never done weird accents. Crikey! Rio, let's get up and dance to the Aussie pop.
This is not... Oh my god, you sound like Ringo Starr took a head injury. Like, what the fuck?
Got it.
Ghost,
cut that.
I'm saluting. No, I'm saluting. I'm giving you the British salute. That's
Meanwhile,
a lot.
Walt's barely talked. I basically just told
Can I make a joke, though? We've been saluting a lot of this podcast. Do you ever make a SecCom style salute? Because you're autistic?
Like this?
No, it's...
There's two of them?
No!
Because SecCom got that little space Nazi vibe.
Alice just did a crime.
Anyway, it was great. Thank you so much for running it, Ghost. What were your thoughts about the session, Ghost? What showed out to you? Glad to know it was a module. I thought you had made all of that just for us, and I was feeling really bad that I was just like, Blue Lady, I'm in.
Alice, you've got...
I would have expected nothing more, and I would have expected nothing less.
Thank you.
But I really liked it. It's Solstice Reign is a great starting point for people to come in from. In terms of the actual sort of play of it, I thought you guys did great. There was a lot of sort of tactical moving. There was a lot of being very reactive to things. It's a fun game to run. You can be quite generous with stuff. One of the issues that I will call out with like CompCon is if you want to house rule something, it can be extremely difficult to do. So you might like just need post-it notes that say, hey, actually it's this.
Oh, yeah. I can see that for sure.
One of the things that comes in for Solstice Reign later is a mech with two shields that it holds up in front of itself, that when you melee attack it, it causes them to like explode in like sudden fire, which if you remember Revengeance is a lot like Sundowner.
Reactive armor.
That's really beautiful.
Deep lore knowers of OSG will know that collectively as a podcast, we are officially Sundowner.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, we are.
Oh, that hurts.
It hurts so bad. I fucking hate that, man. Let's see. I think that we should. We're not rating. We already talked about our favorite mechs. Does anybody have anything else to say about their favorite mech?
I asked when we were doing favorite mechs, one from the core rulebook or one online, because one of my favorite things, I'm in the tags. I'm looking at people's Lancer pilots and their Lancer mechs. I am rotating them in
Alice
my mind.
is watching you perverts.
I am watching you, what you freaks are doing out there. And I'm gonna level with you. I found the most, what I would call Alice core Lancer pilot and mech combo that I've ever seen. And I would like to share it with you. So this is Sparkle Loveshine, call sign Tacmo, and her Horus Hydra Pretty Shine.
Oh my god, this is literally just Alice.
This is the most deflating thing I've ever seen. I was expecting a mech and... Oh,
no,
okay.
Click through.
Okay. Hold on. I got it. Never mind. Yeah. No, this
There's panties. I'm gonna kill you.
Oh, there's panties. Ew.
So it's this all black mech with like claw feet, and then it has like pink ribbons and long twin tail hairs and the cat ears that are floating because it's a Hydra. All of its Hydra floaters are bows, and yeah, if you look, it has the implied panty shot.
It has like RGB light panties.
Yeah.
You know, and if you're the specific type of sicko that Alice is, this is, yeah. I'm glad, you know what? I'm so glad that the Lancer design space has room for the Lancaster and also Sparkle Pretty Shine.
Sparkle Loveshine, who is piloting the Pretty Shine, thank you. Anyway, this is from ZH Jake on Tumblr.
Tumblr truly laying me low at any opportunity.
To call it out, also, we want to see if you have one that you want to show us, even if it's not yours, and you just want to share it and make sure that we've seen it. You can send it to us.
Just send us pictures of Lancer. Just send us Lancer pics.
I know this should be very clear, even if this is your first episode that you're listening to of us, but you can always email us a picture of a mech at questions@osgpod.com.
You can always do that.
You can always
I think my final
no notes. You don't even have to say anything about it. Just send that shit over.
Yeah.
I think my final thought will be, since Brian is holding it down for the Pegasus, I'm going to switch my favorite mech to the Lancaster. I'm embracing her. She is moving at high speed. She is approaching your location with a winch and an ammo pack and probably a juice
She also
box.
has. I was just gonna say, if you look really closely at her little undercarriage, there's a couple thermoses hanging there. Also.
Yeah,
she's got soup.
I am approaching your location at speed with soup.
With soup for my family.
I would say my favorite one is the rally. I love that it has a cowboy hat. I love that it has a war pick. And I love that...
That's a great call out. I would not have interpreted that as a cowboy hat, but I think that that's very, very flavorful. I like that a lot.
It has a revolver that fires bullets that are 4 feet long. In the lore, it wasn't a beloved thing until pilots got their hands on it and were like, oh my god, this thing's fantastic. If it doesn't roll any dice in a turn, it just reloads all of its weapons immediately. So it just like dumps all of its ammo, waits a turn, and then it just goes again. I had like no idea that this was supposed to evoke like a Western. It totally does.
It
though.
Does have like a serape.
It has a serape, yeah.
It's got
Alice.
pistols.
What?
Did Alice just eat a pickle
No, Alice posted another thing that hurts me.
Oh, I gotta go get hurt. Hold on.
The Calibion.
Okay, I am obsessed with this thing.
Calibion.
I like that its helmet is obscuring some sinister form beneath.
I love that it's
Ghost,
like
please
got
talk
a 4-chamber shotgun.
Yeah.
But like Lancer, one of the things about the Everest is the Everest has no official art because it can be anything. All the art in the book is meant to be evocative of something. It's not meant to be prescriptive of something, which I think is
I didn't realize that about the Everest.
Really
That's
exciting.
very cool.
Let's go break.
Cataban.
Let's
take a break, and then I'm gonna actually we're gonna take a break, and then we're gonna play a game. And by we're gonna play a game, I mean Ghost is going to make us play a game, and it is going to be incredible.
Hey guys, Alice here. Thanks for listening to On the Shoulders of Giants. We're really happy you're here, but if you know anybody who might be interested, we'd love if you share our work with them. If you are enjoying what we're doing, maybe send us a message, or what would really help us out is if you leave a review online. Really, a lot of the algorithms will push people down if they don't have reviews, so it really helps if you just go and write something on the internet. Heck, we might even read one on the podcast if it's really nice and makes our hearts go doki doki. So if you could do that, maybe do it, and thanks again for listening. Now, back to the show.
Welcome back from the break. We've been talking about Lancer community shitposts, and I just think everyone who is listening to this should just like go look at some Lancer community shitposts.
It's time for you to learn. It's time for you to read from cover to cover, forget what Ghost said, a 600-page rulebook, so that you can fully immerse yourself in the meme culture.
Collaborative storytelling is extremely generative for memes. The Friends of the Table fan community can attest to this. Like, there's just for a community of like 14 to 17,000 people, you'd think that they were like the WoW player base because of how much fucking memeage is happening. Yeah. So we're gonna play a game. Ghost, take it away. What is this game?
Okay, yeah. As the OSG record keeper, it's my privilege and responsibility to ensure that the official stances are recorded, so that when this podcast becomes a militarized nation state where soldiers can belong without government control or whatever, there's a constitution already in place.
They'll always be
Recently, I started to track something else, and we're going to use that to power today's game.
I'm sorry?
Today, I've brought this game before you, and the game's called The Nothing Burger Account. Brian, Niko, and Alice. This is a multiple choice game. There's no stealing, and you get one guess at each answer each. We're going to start in alphabetical order.
As we always do.
As we always do. Alice, what episode had the first Nothing Burger in it? Was it Metal Gear Solid, The Price of Smiles Part 3, which I've now listened to 4 times, Synduality Noir, Echoes of Ada, Beta Test?
This is wretched.
Look, it's not my fault.
It's super
fault
not their fault.
Blame
it's like,
as well.
It's like categorically your fault, which is the best part.
Can I get
Alice?
a definition of Nothing Burger?
If there's anyone here that should know what a Nothing Burger is, it's you.
It's the ontological opposite of an everything bagel.
It is every time the phrase nothing burger has been said and what that has been said in relation to.
So, Alice.
Price of Smiles Part 3.
Was it Metal Gear Solid?
There was so many nothing burgers during that arc.
Incorrect. It was Metal Gear Solid.
Oh wow, that's much later in the oeuvre than I anticipated.
Wow, I didn't think anything in Price of Smiles was a nothing burger.
I think that maybe you just hadn't started saying that incessantly.
Nothing lettuce.
Ghost asked me, what do you think happened? Like, where do you think this came from? And I'm like, all I can think is Alice interacted with someone who said it, and like a memetic virus, it just colonized Alice's mind. I said it the other day. And I'm just like, fuck, it's spreading. Like
the memes.
Also, I asked Ghost, and I don't know if they declined. I asked Ghost to calculate the percentage of their life to this point they have now spent consuming something in relation to Price of Smiles. And I have not gotten that figure, but I expect it.
Price of Smiles v Destiny.
I would say Destiny wins that one by like.
Well, it's not about which one wins. It's just I want the figure.
Oh
of
no,
the
I
percentage.
lose.
Whoever wins
definitely
Ghost loses. Okay, Alice got that one wrong.
Okay, Brian, what Fallout game is kind of a nothing burger? Is it Fallout Brotherhood of Steel, Fallout Tactics, or Fallout Shelter?
Shit.
Fuck, they're all so nothing.
Is it Brotherhood of Steel?
Incorrect. Alice said it was Fallout Tactics.
It's such
while
a
being the
nothing
funniest one.
I'm so hungry for burgers right now.
We should get burgers.
Everything burgers.
I think I'll treat my husband and myself to burgers for locking him in the Pokemon dungeon for 3 hours.
I just love the fact that Ghost was like, all right, I'm about to guest on an American podcast. How can I be relatable? I give you a hamburger.
That's why they're Hideo Kojima's strongest soldier.
I will go to bat for those games.
You don't need to.
Yeah, I mean, it's my Evangelion.
We do have to just say that Ghost is a stolid Metal Gear Rising: Revengeance defender, and it's good to have someone who liked that game on the pod. It's necessary even.
And Ghost will.
I also liked it, but I didn't play it.
Ghost will be giving us their ranking of the Metal Gear games at the end of this.
I will include Acid 1 and 2.
Never
Niko,
mind.
Yes.
One of the following isn't a nothing burger. All of the mechs in Pacific Rim 2, actually. November Ajax from Pacific Rim 2, actually. Or Charlie Day's villain-era eyeliner. What isn't a nothing burger?
What isn't a nothing burger? Can I hold it out for Charlie Day's
Richard Simmons
little eyeliner? Wait. I have a pass.
You have a pass.
I don't know that I've ever posted it to the OSG account, so we'll just bleep that. Anyway,
It doesn't matter.
I'm holding it down for the eyeliner.
Congratulations, Charlie Day's villain-era eyeliner. It doesn't come up once.
November Ajax is such a nothing burger. Actually, all the mechs are nothing burgers.
But November Ajax specifically.
It's such a nothing burger. He's got police lights on him.
Oh my god.
Cop.
This
ACAB
is
includes
powerful.
November
Thank you for
Ajax,
this.
which I'm sure we also said at that point in time.
Alice, Mazinger Z has a lot of characters in it. Who's the most nothing burger out of all of them? You know, in general. Is it Duke Fleed, Sayaka, Shiro Kabuto, or all of the above?
Sayaka.
Congratulations.
I remember deeply calling her this because I'm still mad once I learned that in the show she has a character.
Yeah,
I
it is
feel
really
like-
tough.
I feel like I'll need to see it to believe it. I believe that she has a little bit more going on, but I don't know that I believe she has a character in the show.
Brian, in episode 27, Macross Plus, we find out that someone's such a nothing burger, y'all. Even Smanchin struggled to get his name right. Who's the nothing burger? Is it Isama? Izuma? Isamu? Whoever he is, he's fucking nothing. Marge? Barge? Whoever he is, he's fucking nothing. Millard? Willard? Whoever he is, he's fucking nothing.
We've all been completely paralyzed by the structure of this question. I'm going to go with B.
Oh, no, I'm afraid not. It was Isamu. Izuma?
Damn.
Whoever he is, he's fucking nothing.
Oh, I remember how much Alice struggled with that name now. Fuck, that was such an obvious one. Damn
I have to think that Alice doesn't learn new names because Alice is reserving that part of her brain for new VTubers. Like, there's no room.
Stevie Nightmare just debuted, and I love her.
I just imagine, like, it was a legitimate struggle when Alice, like, first met her, like, beautiful nieces. Alice was like, what's this one called? Is this, Does
that sound like Koroni Inagumi? Can I use that?
Thank you! I was like, wait, what is a VTuber name?
It's Inugumi Korone, thank you. Hey, I don't like...
I'm just going to make a loud noise so we know what to, like, cut out.
I don't like this name.
Niko!
I thought to myself, I said, is this too mean? Should I say something to Ghost about this being too mean? And then I remembered that you and Ghost have been locked in a cold war of friendship for so long before I was but a twinkle in a Discord server. So I'm just gonna ride.
We have no laws with which to judge your crimes.
All right.
Niko, what Metal Gear enemy is kind of a nothing burger?
Jeez.
Is it Raging Raven, Skullface, Metal Gear Excelsius, or all of the above?
Holy shit.
I feel like it's all of the above.
It's correct. It's all of the above.
Yeah.
I mean, they all are, okay? Like, Skullface is such a nothing burger.
Skullface is the coolest one of the three options, but it's still also a nothing burger.
Oh my god.
From the Mech Roundup, what's kind of a nothing burger? The Atlans from Doom Eternal, the Icons from Final Fantasy XVI, or the Numidium from the Elder Scrolls 3 Morrowind?
Ooh, that's gotta be them big Doom boys.
That is them big Doom boys. Congratulations, well done.
They're really cool, but they're just
boys.
out there looping in animation.
So am I, though. That's what I do every Sunday from 3 p.m. to 7 p.m.
The eating burger loop.
I disembowel a big kaiju on a loop for like 4 hours.
Brian, episode 20 was about Iron Widow, but Char Aznable showed up briefly. In which nothing burger? His big dumb Sequest DSV looking ass mech, the Sea Lance. His big dumb Oscar looking ass mech, the Hakushiki. His big dumb red sock left in the whitewash looking ass mech, the Kazval.
That would be the Hyakushiki.
Congratulations, well done.
How do you know those other names?
Ghost saying big dumb looking ass, like, for me is a new cellar door. Like, it's a perfect series of words.
Personally, I'm a fan of Sequest DSV looking ass mech.
Best DSV looking motherfucker.
I like Alice accusing Ghost, like, Ghost has been peeking out of the little monastery, like, basement window that's barred, like, looking out for other Gundams.
Like, I must find the other Gundams.
And Niko, final question. Who's the nothing burger in Godzilla? Is it Jet Jaguar, Vic Viper, or Dan Dare?
Jet Jaguar!
See, I feel like we have too much respect for saying Jet Jaguar in a weird voice for it to be Jet Jaguar. I think it's Vic.
It's Jet Jaguar.
Only one I knew.
Alice.
Yeah. He's kind of a nothing burger.
I mean, I have a timestamp if you really want.
To be in more things.
He literally isn't. He can be big or small.
He deserves more. We should bring back Jet Jaguar in the next Godzillaverse movie.
This game,
and that's it. That's the game.
This game.
That's the game. We did
Ghost, thank you so much.
Fuck you. And
can I get a number that I've been craving? Ghost, how many nothing burgers were in the Synduality Echoes of Ada episode?
Let me just check. You can hear the keyboard sounds in the background. There you go.
That's podcast Foley,
Ghost
honestly.
Is hacking in to their own spreadsheet.
I'm in. Kept you waiting,
there was 2 in the Synduality episodes. Ellie's mech, which is just her regular one, but kind of kitted out specifically for her.
Specifically, my dear, the Echoes of Ada episode.
Oh, just one.
Yes! What? I thought there were like 6.
No, there's just one. It's the sense of scale. That's the nothing burger, the sense of scale.
The staircase is not
I've got my nothing burger, and I can't tell how big it is.
Anything and nothing can be a nothing burger, apparently.
Yuri is nothing burger.
Hey, words that I'm never going to say again on this podcast. Fuck you. I'm cured.
I'm sorry.
And nothing of value was lost. No,
nothing burger of value is lost.
Value was lost. Ghost, thank you so much for always doing the work, like the difficult work, like the copying the Bible by hand.
How many times did you listen to The Price of Smiles Part 3?
So I listened to it once before I started writing stuff down. I listened to it a second time on 1.5 when I was writing down official stances. I listened to it again because I fell asleep halfway through it. So
that's so beautiful. That's such a beautiful thing to happen.
The dulcet tones of
and time 4 was for nothing burgers.
I feel like we need to let Ghost out of the monastery.
Ghost is the Sisyphus in HP from the fucking Pegasus. Ghost is in there and laughing and dying every time we turn off the pod.
We have a flash transmission.
Oh shit!
Who wants to do the honor of reading this? Yes. Who wants to do the honor of reading the letter I just posted in the chat? I feel like it should be Ghost.
It
should be Ghost or Niko.
Oh yes, Ghost, do it.
Dulcet tones of Ghost.
Dear OSG, I'm a starship captain, and I have a little bit of a dilemma. My top 2 mech pilots are really annoying. One of them is this retired idle girl pretending to be an Australian with this weird chipper but sinister attitude, and the other is a glowering, self-important divorcee who's a big figure in some pretentious art movement. I don't know how I ended up with these 2 vain, obnoxious, washed-up celebrities with a podcast on my ship, but they don't get along. I'm improving, but they don't get along, and every interaction we have with the public is just weighed down by their notoriety. How can I get either of them off my ship or anonymize them? Thanks, the NPC that we never rescued.
Oh, this is a common struggle, I think.
Crikey!
Oh God, she's here.
She's in the room.
In the airlock. Oh my God.
My ears were ringing.
Now I know you said one of them is divorced.
Yeah.
Can you force them to get married so that they cancel out?
Oh my God, the Get Along t-shirt, but it's marriage.
The Get Along mech.
The Get Along mech.
That is basically the plot of the second Iron Widow book, right?
Get Along mech. It's the plot of the first one too. Anyway, I think it's fine. I think that's perfectly fine. I think you should lean into the notoriety thing and like, you know, when like K-pop idols wear a black cap and a mask but still have the most like over the top fashion and just are making no chance to actually blend in as a normal person but are anonymous.
Everybody knows this. Everyone knows about this, yeah.
So baseball cap and surgical mask.
I would say get them on your ship, accelerate to near light speed, and just let time dilation handle everything else. Let them fade into obscurity.
A dingo ate my Lancer.
Oh my God.
A dingo ate my goblet. Good.
My God.
I would just like to formally apologize to Australia. You don't deserve it on account of your many crimes, but I'm sorry.
I don't know that we have any Australian listeners, but if we do,
they just
I'm
left.
so sorry. If we do, not anymore.
If we do, good on ya.
If we do, how you going?
How you going?
I'll ask you. Yeah.
Is that what they say down there?
That's the most authentic Australian thing that's happened on this podcast so far.
Let's head down to Hungry Jack's, which is what they call Burger King.
I think you have to execute them against the wall. I think you have to kill them.
Honestly, I wrote Chitley to die. Maybe that's the end. Maybe that's the answer to this question. Just let him die in the drop
fourth
zone.
committee puts Chitley up against the wall.
The tribunal of Chitley.
Brian.
Chitley dies and is flash cloned right back onto the ship, and the captain screams.
Oh, fuck, that's right. You're never going to be free.
That is this episode of On the Shoulders of Giants, where we discussed Lancer. Do we have any parting thoughts, my friends?
I'm sorry, Ghost.
I'm also sorry, Ghost. And the Lancaster is my friend.
I've noticed the disturbing lack of official stances.
I made one. You made one. That's two this episode.
That was my little sign-off thing. I don't know if that's any good. Cut it out, my advice.
Thanks for listening, pilots. Remember, you can reach out for advice from the team at our email, questions@osgpod.com, and non-pilots can send general questions or feedback to the same address. You can also catch up with us on social media for updates and more. We do and are running a Discord as of last episode, so come hang out with us on that, and don't be weird.
Don't be weird or Ghost will ban you.
Don't be weird or Ghost will ban you.
That's another duty we've assigned Ghost in the dungeon.
Assigned Discord mod at birth.
Ghost, do you have anything you want to plug?
I think that people should go and play Lancer. I think that they should experiment with games outside of the ones that they play regularly. I think that people should be good to each other, and they should just generally try and have more fun with their friends.
Do you have an itch.io that people could be watching for your
I don't
wrestling
have one
mega
that's
game?
set up. I probably should have done that before now.
Well, as soon as Ghost is ready to victimize us all with professiontional wrestling.
Well, until then, is there a place you want people to come and find you online if they desire?
Where are your best shit posts?
Oh yeah, you can regret following me on literallyghost.bsky.social. It's mostly very specific Scottish posting about sandwiches and professional wrestling.
That sounds like an amazing follow. I'm not going to lie. If somebody just told me to follow somebody with that account description, like in an elevator, I'd say, yes, I'll do that.
I'm opening my phone. Make sure to check back in 2 weeks when we'll be discussing the Ghost in the Shell manga as curated for us by Alice. Until then, goodbye. I love you.
The official stance of the OSG pod is, I love you.
I love you, and that's why I'm shooting you with my gun.
What a nothing burger of an ending.
Do I have to spend an entire year in a shell? No one told me about this.